tune, you want to work on some things. More or less, this final 30-minute warm-up session is to make sure everything's buttoned up, make sure you don't run into each other on pit lane like Ryan Hunter-Reay nearly did to James Hinchcliffe. But yeah, Mark, bring those cars home in one piece. Make sure everything is buttoned up. Make sure these team members, again, this is the first race of the season, make sure everybody knows what they're responsible for in the course of the race, and certainly get a couple practice pit stops, because those bullets are going to be flying later this afternoon, Mark, and we've seen, especially on these street courses, every second on pit lane matters.
45th pole, as we mentioned, for Will Power. Let's go to the opposite end of the spectrum. He was fast throughout the practice sessions, all three of them, in fact, but things did not go well for Sebastien Bourdais, Nick Yeoman. He will roll off 21st today.
Yeah, very surprising. Sebastien Bourdais said yesterday he just misjudged it getting into turn 14 and slid off the racetrack and wasn't able even to turn a competitive lap in qualifying. And he apologized to his crew and publicly on Twitter about that mistake. And certainly he's got his work cut out for him starting 21st, dead last on the field, Mark. But Sebastien Bourdais is a guy that I think is going to find his way towards the front. Dale Coyne always has his strategy hat on, and they'll play some interesting cards today, no doubt. But that was a surprise because, as you mentioned, throughout the course of this weekend, Sebastien Bourdais and that Honda has shown a lot of speed throughout the course of this weekend.
A three-time winner rolls off on the outside of row number 8, Helio Castroneves. The defending series champion rolls off on the outside of row number 7, and Simon Pagenaud.
I think that was the biggest surprise of qualifying yesterday and maybe over the last couple years, Mark, to see two Penske drivers knocked out of round number 1. We just don't see that. There's usually, Roger Penske's, fielded 4 cars here for the last couple years. You're usually a shoe-in to get about 3 of them into the Firestone Fast 6. So to have Helio and Simon Pagenaud starting as deep as they are, that is a caveat that's going to be just fascinating to watch because, as I mentioned, those guys are used to battling up front. They're going to have to pick their way through the field. They're certainly capable of it. Helio's won here before, and Simon was a very deserving champion 1 year ago. But, boy, I think that had all of us scratching our heads as to what's wrong with Team Penske for them to have 2 drivers miss out of round 1.
Another one patrolling pit road for us this morning for this warm-up. We say hello to Rob Howden.
Good morning, Mark. Good morning, race fans. It's going to be a great day here. Of course, that threat of rain kind of going down a little bit, which is nice. But I had a chance to talk to a couple of the engineers down here on pit lane. And 2 of the primary concerns, obviously, are the issue we talked about with the brakes. The Brembo and PFC combination of the brakes have been wreaking havoc on the brake pressure and the braking of these drivers. Connor Daly, one of the pilots, really struggling with that problem here this weekend. The other is going to be tire degradation. I talked to Brandon Fry from Ganassi Racing, the engineer for Max Chilton, and Brandon said straight up that they're going to worry. It's going to be interesting. They haven't done a full run here yet. They don't know how these tires are going to last, and indeed surprised by the lack of extra pace from the Reds. They're not going to last very long. They're only about a quarter of a second quicker, and those scuffed Reds are not very good at all. So they're really concerned about what the car's going to be like on scuffed Reds, Mark. It should be an interesting day with a couple of issues that we'll have to watch throughout the entire event.
6 minutes into this 30-minute final warm-up session, continuing to break down the results of qualifying yesterday. Nobody more disappointed, I think, than the driver on the inside of row number 8 after being fast all weekend long, an off-season in which he rededicated himself. The team made some changes, moving Brian Herta over to his pit box. Bit of a surprise. A lot of disappointment from Marco Andretti after he qualified on the inside of row 8.
Yeah, and you bring that up at a good point after Rob's point about some concerns about, tire wear, that these teams we're doing a lot of guessing and maybe not a big difference between the Reds and the Blacks, because it sounded like Marco kind of alluded to yesterday that they made some changes anticipating the extra grip for the red tires. And it just simply wasn't there, Rob Howden, and that's why Marco struggled so badly in qualifying, and he'll roll off today in 15th.
Yeah, Nick, I actually talked to Marco right before the session, and he had said yesterday that when they went out on the blacks and the car was real loose, he believed that they made just too much of a change when they went to the reds, and the car had a big push, a major understeer into turn number 1. As I talked to him, he said, you know what, actually we found out that I had made just one erroneous change in the car himself. He had moved one of the bars in the wrong direction, so the car actually wasn't handling the way it was supposed to. And he owned up to it. He said, hey, you know what? This is on me. I made that mistake. I think we have a great race car. We're going to be good for the main event. But again, you guys have talked about it and how dedicated he was in the offseason to kind of getting that refocus. He's working now with Brian Herta on the box. There's just going to be a different mindset. And just the way he came into this session today, I liked it. He was smiling. He was happy. Last year he struggled. He wasn't the guy you really wanted to talk to. If he was having a bad day, he just wasn't feeling good. But Mark, a much different Marco Andretti this morning.
Row number 4 features a couple of good stories as we get a glimpse of James Hinchcliffe going through that Pioneer Park area and tearing some banners off the wall. Doesn't look like he did any damage to the car, but row 4, some interesting stories. Good run for Max Chilton, his second run through the Verizon IndyCar Series, and the defending Indy 500 champ Alexander Rossi, both with good qualifying efforts yesterday, Nick.
Yeah, a couple sophomore drivers in year 2 with a good run, as you mentioned. For Chilton, the expectations have to be high with Ganassi as positive as they think that change to Honda is going to be. And then for Alexander Rossi, new personnel on that pit box this year. As you mentioned, Brian Herta moves off of that pit box, and Rob Edwards becomes the strategist on that car. Tom German goes from engineering that car over to Rahal Letterman-Lanigan Racing, and Jeremy Millis, who moves over from Ed Carpenter Racing to engineer that number 98 car. So a lot of personnel change for Alexander Rossi, but still, that young very talented, and gave a good effort in qualifying yesterday.
Inside of row number 3, a bit of pole sitter here, but with a new team, Takuma Sato. He had some issues early in the session, early in the weekend, we should say, but he's rebounded nicely. Takuma Sato getting ready to make his 119th start in the Verizon IndyCar Series. It's time for some more consistency, I think.
No doubt about it. And this weekend has kind of been Takuma Sato in a nutshell, where he showed so much speed in qualifying yesterday, but as you mentioned, did have a practice accident, and when we drop the green flag, it's going to be a lot of question marks of if Takuma can back up that speed and keep that car in one piece throughout the course of this event. But as we know, Mark, Takuma Sato, when he gets that grit in his teeth, he's as fast as any guy in this sport.
67 races Takuma Sato has competed in since he picked up his first and only win in the series at Long Beach. That was back in 2013. So 10 minutes now into this 30-minute session. As we mentioned, Will Power and Scott Dixon, your front row. Nick Subchell, we see Hinch gets a little overzealous going into turn number 1. He goes into the runoff area. He's able to keep it going. He'll let the traffic clear, get back out onto the course. Nick, we've asked Davey Hamilton to weigh in on it. We've had Jake Query weigh in on it, Dave First and others. The changes that have been made to this course, I think we've seen it over the past couple of years now, more than we ever have. I got to give a lot of credit to the series. I mean, they saw that there were some issues in turn 3, and rather than live with it, trying to make safety at a premium, as this series always does. So some changes were necessitated in turn 3, and all of the drivers certainly applaud it, but they do say it makes for a more challenging part of the course now.
And we've got issues, Mark. Ryan Hunter-Reay, we can get back to that point. Ryan Hunter-Reay has just buried that DHL Honda into the tire barriers.
Yep. So we talked about it in our opening comments about what you wanted to do your darn well best to avoid, and Ryan Hunter-Reay has not done that. And hopefully he'll just be bold on stuff. That's right below your perch later today.
Wow, and he, that's right, in turn number 10, he was approaching his teammate Alexander Rossi, setting up for that left-hander, locks him up, and just slides it big time. That is a big hit there, Mark, into turn 10. That car just simply, he could not get it slowed down. Here's an onboard shot for those joining us online for Ryan Hunter-Reay. Again, in turn number 10, Mark, takes his hands off the steering wheel, does the smart thing, but that's a big hit for a warm-up session.
Yeah, he was getting a good run on Rossi, and the wall did manage to scrub a little bit of speed off the right side of that car, but he buried it into the runoff area in turn number 10. So a red flag on the course while they will retrieve the car of Ryan Hunter-Reay. And again, he appeared to be he is okay. It's good to report that Ryan Hunter-Reay is out of the car, hands on his hips, and it's from that position at turn 10 through the wall. It's a pretty short walk back to the paddock, but he's going to jump into Hamatro's safety vehicle, and he's going to make his way back to the pit box. And hopefully, again, not a lot of suspension damage on that car. It's just maybe the front wing assembly, but as you suggest, a very, very, very big hit.
Yeah, fingers crossed. That's, he was traveling at a high rate of speed and just simply couldn't get that car slowed down. So until we hear from Ryan Hunter-Reay, I don't want to speculate whether it was brake issues or if something else broke on that machine. But as you mentioned, that was a big hit Again, that was coming out of that turn 9 portion of the racetrack, running down his teammate. You mentioned got a good run on him, and then, boy, just locked him up.
Yeah.
You could see those front tires, they weren't slowing that car down at all. Big hit for Ryan Hunter-Reay, and unfortunately, Mark, for those DHL guys, they're going to have quite a bit of work here and going to have to look over every inch of that race car to make sure that it's competitive for the race later today. Ryan Hunter-Reay was scheduled to roll off 12th today when we go green at noon.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be more than just the front nose assembly. It's totally destroyed, but the suspension on the right side has been sheared off of that car. There's a lot of damage on that race car for sure.
So a full course red flag for Ryan Hunter-Reay. That doesn't help a lot of these other teams because the clock continues to tick, Mark, on this warm-up session, just 30 minutes. And, boy, knock on wood, this is what we talked about at the top of the show. The last thing you want to do is tear up a race car. So not a good way to start the weekend and ultimately Sunday here for a defending champion or a one-time champion, Ryan Hunter-Reay.
Well, we can hear from some of the drivers, talk to them post-qualifying yesterday. One of them is a driver who, believe it or not, has never, ever won here. Talking about Scott Dixon. He's been a bridesmaid a few times, but he qualified for the outside of row number 1. Will start alongside Will Power. We caught up with Scott Dixon after qualifying yesterday.
Scott Dixon, you got things rolling here this weekend. It's been good all weekend. The whole Ganassi team is quick. Give me some insight into that Fast 6 run for you.
Yeah, it was, obviously that's the goal, is to get to the Fast 6 and then make the most of it. But unfortunately, it was one of the only segments that we weren't quickest in, and purely my fault. I messed up in the first segment, lost, over 3.5 tenths. We were able to gain more than that back on that lap. But, so had we gone off our previous lap, it would have been, easily under a 61, which would have been plenty for the pole. But, hopefully I can redeem myself a little bit, maybe get another spot there.
Going to be interesting to see that drag race into turn number 1 between Will Power and Scott Dixon. That was our Rob Howden yesterday, talking to Scott Dixon post-qualifying. Rob Howden back on pit road today. He's in the pit box of the 7 machine of Mikel Aloshin.
Yeah, Mark, issues here as well. Mikel got into the wall, right side of the car. They're actually going to replace the rear wing now. Just a little bit of damage. Didn't actually damage the wing, just a big scrape on the one side, maybe a minor issue with it, but they are going to put a new wing on just in case something was cracked. A little repair to the right front of the front wing as well, so they're going to work, and in fact looks like maybe some suspension damage right front as well. They're replacing one of the wishbones, so Aloshin, one of the drivers, pushing very hard as well. Right side contact.
Conversation right now between Ryan Hunter-Reay and Michael Andretti, doing a post-mortem, if you will, on that accident, and then we get another view of the Hamato safety crew. And, Nick, they've got some work to do. They've got that tire barrier to rebuild down there in the runoff at turn 10.
Yeah, they do, and as you can see, that's why they put those tires down there. They've got 4 or 5 rows deep of tires set up, because that is that portion leading down to turn 10 is probably the second fastest portion of the racetrack, other than what they're turning heading down to turn number 1. The speeds are great, and that is, again, one of the last places you want to have a problem. A big hit for Ryan Hunter-Reay. Glad to see he is okay, but as you mentioned, got about a dozen Hamato safety crew members down there. Have a little bit of cleanup. They got that number 28 extricated from the barriers, but certainly the tire barriers are going to need to be fixed. Let's hear from Ryan Hunter-Reay. He's standing by on pit lane with Dave First.
All right, a lot of concern, obviously, for Ryan Hunter-Reay. First of all, are you okay?
I am, thank you. And thank the Lord that wall over there had 3 rows of tires on it, because I needed every bit of it. It was just a brake failure. The brake pedal went to the floor as soon as I hit it. So it looks like the rear brakes failed for some reason. The front's engaged, but that's not going to do anything to stop the car. It was just brake lock all the way in. One of the scarier feelings in a race car, I can tell you that.
Is this the continuation of what you guys have been dealing with, fighting all weekend long?
I'm not really sure what this one's about yet. We have to get the car back, look at it, but for whatever reasons, the rear brakes completely failed.
Just looking at it, I know there's some discussion. Michael Andretti's here as well. What happens moving forward? Are you guys talking backup at this point, or is there enough time to fix this one?
I have no idea. I just got back to the pit lane. I would think it would be this car, unless there was some damage I didn't see. But it was a head-on hit into a tire barrier, so. I'm really concerned if this happens, in fifth gear going into turn 13. I mean, that would be a lot worse. That would be a lot worse than what just happened here.
Moving forward, do you suggest anything? Can drivers suggest anything?
I'm not sure. I just, I really, I'm thinking about the driver's well-being right now. I don't want anything to happen related to brakes. street circuits, when you're on big road courses and you have a whole lot of runoff and you have the safety mechanisms in place to deal with that, that's one thing. But when you're on a street circuit, there is no room for error. Every foot that you give up in braking, let alone a brake failure, is a big deal. You're going into a concrete wall. So hopefully this is the only incident we have of the day. I'm not sure how this is going to play out. We have to go back, look at the car, see what happened, diagnose it, fix it, and make sure it doesn't happen again, hopefully.
Glad you're okay. We'll see you this afternoon.
All right, thank you.
Ryan Hunter-Ray down here on pit road.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. Good stuff from Ryan Hunter-Ray. We appreciate him sharing his thoughts with us. Again, due to roll off of the outside of row number 6, and the car's on the hook right now, just about ready to clear. And I think suspension pieces, bolt-on stuff, Nick. I would expect to see that. Certainly see that car on the grid by the time we get ready to go racing at noon.
Yeah, as we see it on the hook, tub looks intact, and as you mentioned, a lot of bent A-arms and control arms there at the front of that car, and as you mentioned, those front wings, each of these teams, they carry a couple replacements throughout the course of the weekend because on these street courses, inevitably you're going to tear those up, but rarely do you hit that hard. That front wing was absolutely destroyed, so with some concerned comments from Ryan Hunter-Ray. We've talked about it. There is this ongoing storyline about brake issues with these race cars, and I wanted to make sure we heard from Ryan firsthand. Again, he's a guy that doesn't have a lot of answers right now. He just got out of a wrecked race car, and but sounded very, very concerned, and he's right, Mark. He's very lucky, he was close enough to Alexander Rossi that I'm sure it gave Rossi a scare in his rearview mirror, but when we go racing later today and these cars are packing up, and if you're attempting to say he was moving a little to the inside to pass Alexander Rossi and you have that issue, those are the things you fear, and he's very mindful of that. The series certainly is, and so is Brembo and then the manufacturers as well. They're going to take a good look at this, but not a good situation there for Ryan Hunter-Ray here in warm-up.
And let this, kind of give a little insight to the casual fan as to where, when, why, and how on the placement of tire barriers. You heard Ryan Hunter-Ray himself say, I'm thankful that there were, 3 rows of tires stacked up there. Any less than that or none at all, it could have been a lot worse.
Well, you got to put those at the highest speed portion of the racetracks, and thankfully, again, down there in turn 10, Mark, you've been there for many, many years and know that turn very well. There is quite a bit of runoff area there leading into those tire barriers as well. Now, that doesn't help you when you have a brake failure and you're not able to scrub off any speed, but that rubber compound of those tires, it just helps cushion any type of impact. I don't know what else you could possibly put out there for a car to run into that's going to help more than, as Ryan talked about, 3 sets. I actually think it might be 4 or 5 deep. There's a lot of tires down there in turn 10 to help brace the impact, because we talked about that was a pretty massive hit on a road and street circuit.
10 minutes of red flag time now, leaving just about 9 minutes to go in this final warm-up session. We'll have more when we come back. We hope to go back to green flag conditions in 3 minutes from the Firestone broadcast booth at St. Petersburg, Florida. This is the Advanced Auto Parts IndyCar Radio Network.
During the 1969 Indy 500, Mario Andretti's crew couldn't get his tire to come off, so he had no choice but to keep driving on it. That tire held up the whole race and took Mario to the winner's circle. Right, Mario?
That's right. If it wasn't for the dependability of Firestone tires, I wouldn't be an Indy 500 champion.
Here's to making more champions with the official tire of the Verizon IndyCar Series. Whatever you drive, drive a Firestone.
Just what is the Indy experience?
It's 80,000 screaming fans.
It's 11 exciting races over 3 days.
It's the Ferris wheel and the interactive fan zone for the kids. And it's wine tasting. Yes, wine tasting for moms and dads.
This is the Honda Indy Grand Prix of Alabama, presented by America's First Federal Credit Union at Barber Motorsports Park, April 21st through 23rd.
Don't miss the Indy experience.
Purchase your tickets today at barberracingevents.com.
This brake issue, we need to get more on it. We need to get the Verizon IndyCar Series perspective on it. Dave First is going to do that for us now.
Yeah, Bill Pappas is the Vice President of Competition and Race Engineering for the Verizon IndyCar Series. Brake issues all weekend long. Where do you guys stand right now?
Well, again, trying to tell everybody it's a new vendor for this season. We've been monitoring the data that they run. These brakes run hotter than the previous brakes we used. The teams are coming to grips with how to cool them best and how to modulate the cooling between the calipers and the rotors. And been working with the manufacturers and trying to optimize the system.
Take me back a little bit. You guys tested this at Road America last year. I know Ryan Hunter-Reay, coincidentally enough, was one of the guys that tested the brakes. PFC, Performance Friction Corporation, they're using the disc and the rotors, and the pads rather. Then it's the hybrid with the old Brembo calipers that have been used for years in this series. The test went really well back at Road America, did it not?
Yeah, the 3 teams we tested with were very, very happy with this product. Felt it was superior to what they had been running. From there, then we wanted to make sure everybody in the paddock had a chance to test them through the rest of the summer and into the fall. We got products out to everybody. They tested them, different race courses like Sebring, Sonoma, Elkhart Lake. Everybody's been on them. Mid-Ohio, we tried to get them on everybody at all the different race courses, and never, anybody came back and said that this was going to be any type of issues, and we just carried down the path.
I know I talked to several drivers, Sebastien Bourdais, one of them, and I asked him about the brakes, and he had the opinion that perhaps it's the street circuit here that might be lending to the high temperatures you guys are dealing with.
Well, again, the high temperatures are coming from when the cars come in and sit in pit lane and soak. And, we need to see what happens here this morning if somebody puts together a long run and see where the temperatures go while they're running out on the racetrack.
Moving forward, obviously you got another street circuit at Long Beach in a couple of weeks. What does the series do from here on out? Will there be some testing here in the next couple of weeks?
Well, again, we'll just review the data from here and, get together and with PFC and decide what we need to do next.
Thank you for your time.
Yes, sure, no problem.
Again, that's Bill Pappas, the Vice President of Competition Race Engineering here for the Verizon IndyCar Series, something they have been keeping on really since that Sebring test a couple of weeks ago.
Certainly does explain it from the IndyCar perspective.
Yeah, and Bill Pappas is a guy that has seen both sides of that, Mark. He's been on pit box for many, many years, engineering and doing the strategy for these teams. So, of course, he knows what it's like to have torn-up race cars, and he doesn't want to see it as well. Looks like Sebastien Bourdais has gone off for the runoff in turn number 1. We've got an Indy Lights race a little bit later this morning, actually, coming up at 9:45, right after this warm-up session ends. Yesterday's race, Rob Howden, was won by Aaron Telitz. Guy that finished second, though, was charging hard, and he's going to sit on the pole for race number 2, and you're standing by with a second-generation driver.
Yeah, we're going to have an Andretti car on the front row starting on the pole. In fact, Andretti Steinbrenner for Colton Herta. Colton, congratulations. Fantastic qualifying effort and a great run yesterday in second. Give me your thoughts right now, how this weekend's been rolling for you.
It's been amazing. We started off Friday practice without coming on the track at all. I've never raced here before. So we progressed quite quickly, and to get the pole was amazing, and to get a podium yesterday was great.
Obviously some really hardcore racing yesterday, some wheel-to-wheel. You were able to use the push-to-pass to come a little deeper in the field to get up to battle Neil Alberico for the last spot. Talk about the push-to-pass a bit. Were you comfortable using that for the first time?
Yeah, it was actually it was more effective than I thought it was going to be. We get 15 pushes at 10 seconds, and it brings the horsepower up from 450 to 500, so it was working great.
You made a fantastic pass at Alberico late in the race to grab second, but you had already run out of pushes to pass. That was pure talent on that one.
Yeah, that was a little bit of slipstreaming and a good exit. Yeah, old school.
You're going to start on the pole position today. What are your expectations? Is the concept to run away and try to get this win?
Yeah, it's got to be. Seeing what Aaron could do yesterday, I think we got to follow in his path and do the same.
Hey, good luck.
Thank you.
He'll be off this morning, ladies and gentlemen. Mark James from the pole position. This young kid gaining a lot of respect here in the Indy Lights paddock. Only 16 years of age, second yesterday, and he'll start from pole this morning.
Like Davey said yesterday, he even sounds like his dad.
He does. Yeah, Davey pointed that out, and I thought, man, you are dead on the money with that one. That's talented young man, Colton Herta, I think, as Rob talked about it. He's going to be the favorite from the pole later this afternoon, later this morning again for this race. Santi Urrutia starts to his outside. Urrutia obviously won a lot of races last year, so a competitive front row. And then yesterday's winner, Aaron Telitz, has to come from 10th position, Mark. He won by about 10 seconds yesterday in race number 1 as James Hinchcliffe tests the run runoff in turn number 1. But going to be a competitive race. Yesterday's race throughout the field was a lot of fun to watch.
Well, I think I'm glad you qualified that, because let's face it, Tielet's never really challenged after the melee on the first turn on the opening lap, but boy, from second on back, I mean, it was an outstanding show between those young talented drivers.
Yeah, as Rob talked about, Colton Herta charged from the 5th starting position up to 2nd, and then we had a battle from about 7th through 10th that included drivers like Kyle Kaiser and Juan Pedrahita and Pato O'Ward, where they were slugging it out. Zachary Clayman DeMello was mixing it up. It was a really exciting race, and you heard Colton Herta say this new push-to-pass system that the Indy Lights has implemented, he thought it was more effective than he thought it was going to be. I think that bodes really well for the Indy Lights series, and Mark, really excited to call that race here in about a half hour.
Back to the Verizon IndyCar series. Simon Pagenaud is P1 at a time of 102.505. Bourdais, Piggott, Marco, and Kanan the top 5. Munoz, Castro Neves, Hinch, Hildebrand, and Rahal the top 10. Ryan Hunter-Reay was 11th quick before he visited the tire barrier in turn number 10. Charlie Kimball, Daly, Newgarden, Power, rookie Ed Jones, then Dixon, Alosian, Rossi, Chilton, and Sato. And again, that incident involving Ryan Hunter-Reay burned up about 13 minutes of time. Let's take a look at Joseph Newgarden. The car that he's driving, 2-time defending race winner here, then piloted by Juan Montoya. What kind of pressure does Joseph have on him to perform for Team Penske this year?
I think certainly there's some pressure, especially that Tim Cindric moves over to do the strategy on that race car. And anytime you join an operation like Team Penske, with the pedigree that they have, there's going to be some pressure. But at the same time, I think Joseph Newgarden has shown year after year, Mark, that he's capable of handling any type of pressure that's thrown at him and responds very well to adversity. Or a year ago when he had that awful wreck at Texas, broke his collarbone, had some hand injuries, and then about a month later went and won at Iowa. That's a young man that's capable of quite a lot. Qualified well yesterday, put that Verizon Chevrolet in the Firestone Fast 6. I think it's going to be a factor. I think he's a guy that could pull off a win in his first start with Penske.
This might make even you feel a little old. He's closing in on his 100th career start in the Verizon IndyCar Series. The kid that we first talked to in the drivers' meeting at Barber Motorsports Park when he was driving in the Indy Lights Series.
His first year in Indy Lights was my first year with the network, so he and I have kind of made jokes about that over the years that we're both kind of joined this circus at the same time, and lo and behold, there he is driving for Team Penske. So he's had an impressive career. Last year, such a breakout year, winning a couple races and looking so strong and put that Ed Carpenter Racing team on the map because Ed's team certainly needed a boost, and Joseph gave him that. Tried really hard to keep Joseph, but, man, when the captain calls, you got to go. And again, just such an impressive young man on and off the racetrack. He's grown a pretty big fan base. Saw some Joseph Newgarden shirts in the paddock throughout the course of the weekend. And, again, if things click like they certainly can with Team Penske, he's going to be a guy that could win today and certainly is going to be a factor in the championship.
Interesting, the first two rows, Nick, consisting of guys like Power and Dixon, the established stars. And I know behind them are guys that have won races that are somewhat established, but that row 2 is just as interesting. Maybe the future on display there with James Hinchcliffe on the inside of row 2 and Joseph Newgarden.
Yeah, we talked about Newgarden and how talented he is, and James Hinchcliffe equally for that Schmidt-Peterson organization, flying that Honda flag very high yesterday with the third-place qualifying effort. And for Hinch, he came so close to winning a couple races last year, was on the podium at Toronto. Of course, Hinchcliffe lost that race at Texas by a few inches to Graham Rahal. So Hinch talked about in the offseason about how, boy, they were so close, showed the pace. They just couldn't seal the deal on some victories. Another great qualifying effort for him. And as you mentioned, those are two guys, Hinch and Newgarden, that Mark could very well be the face of IndyCar for the next decade.
Closing minutes here. Team Penske has won at St. Petersburg 8 times. They've won the pole position for 8 of the last 11 races here, including 7 of the last 8 by Will Power. Power won the pole for today's race, and we caught up with him after qualifying yesterday.
Congratulations, 7th time, huh?
7, is it? Wow. Yeah,
how about this? 45 career poles in the Verizon IndyCar Series.
Is it? Yeah, that's good. That was good. We got away with 1 lap in that first round and had a good set for the last round, but had to make a few changes because we kind of struggled in that second round. So, yeah, very happy to get the Verizon car on pole here at St. Pete. It's can't believe I've done 7 times. That's a lot. I feel like I'm getting old when you can say that.
Well, let's think about it. You're getting old. You have a baby now. It's all good, right?
It's all good, man. It is. It's enjoyable, and got to have fun because it doesn't last forever.
What about next? What about tomorrow now? As a celebration, Tim Citrick comes over. Tomorrow, what kind of race car do you have?
I don't know. It's very interesting that because of the track this year, the tires degrade a bit faster than normal. So it'll be kind of take it as it comes sort of race. But yeah, we'll do our best.
Checkered flag on this session. Scott Dixon will close at P1. Elio Castro-Neves, Pagano, Piggott, and Rahal the top 5. When we go racing this afternoon, Will Power and Scott Dixon will be on the front row for the Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg. Plenty of racing between now and then. Join us at 9:45 Eastern. Nick Yeoman, Davey Hamilton, Jake Query, Dave First, Rob and Joel on pit road as we get ready for lights race number 2. So again, a one-car incident, the only incident of this session. Ryan Hunter-Reay buried it in the tire barrier turn 10. He's okay. We assume that car will be okay and be on the grid and ready to go racing. So until a little bit later on this morning, this is Mark Janes. So long for now from the streets of St. Petersburg.
This is IndyCar Radio on the IMS Radio Network.
Green flag is in the air. Pedro Hita gets shoved down nearly into pit lane. He'll drop to about 6th or 7th. Here comes Ed Jones. Jones to the outside. Michael Young, he'll clear him into turn number 1.
For the final time, our points leader goes around. Ed Jones just got by Dean Stoneman.
Weekend long, where do you guys stand right now?
This
Pappas is the Vice President of Competition.
Check. Will Power, another pole position for you here today. You're going to start on the front row. You'll actually start this year. Last year you weren't able to do it. What are your thoughts going into today's race?
Yeah, I think we've got a pretty good car. You know, the Honda definitely has some straight line speed, so that's something to keep in mind. Seems like they're having brake issues, but yeah, I feel good about the car. The conditions are a bit cool today, so that helps. So yeah, we'll see.
Any thoughts on tire wear right now? It's going to be tough.
It actually seems like the tires are lasting pretty well. now the track's rubbered up. The tyre deg wasn't as much as we thought it would be.
Good luck today.
Thank you. Thank you.
Stay first.
Here with Scott Dixon, ready to go from second position this afternoon. Second's something that you're kind of used to, unfortunately, here in St. Petersburg. 3 seconds. Is this one of these tracks that, hey, you haven't won here, let's check that box before it's all said and done in your career?
Yeah, it's been the goal since we came here, I think, back in 2005, ever since. So, it's definitely not where we wanted to qualify yesterday. The car was definitely good enough for pole. I made a pretty big mistake to start that lap. And, if you look at the splits, we clearly had the quickest car, just the driver didn't put it together. So I need to work on that. But today's what counts. If we can hopefully get out front, I think, the GE car is going to be super fast. We'll have to wait and see. But, yeah, as you said, St. Pete's a tough one. Penske have definitely had a bit of a rain here lately, so hopefully we can try and turn that around.
Switch to Honda. How's it gone so far for you guys?
Yeah, it's been good. I think it was much needed for the team, too, a total reset in the off-season, something new to focus on and a new direction. And I think it's helped us a lot as far as just from the team side, mechanical grip and things like that. But it's familiar faces, a lot of people that we've worked with in the past, achieved a lot together, so it's definitely, an easy transition.
Good luck this afternoon.
Thanks, man.
Scott Dixon rolls off second.
Yeah, I'm inside the office right now, so I'm not on the balcony, but yeah. I'm the only one here, Rick. It's great.
Yeah, sure, why not? This is Joel.
Hi, my name is Mikhail Alyoshin, and I'm from Russia. Mikhail Alyoshin, Russia.
Live from the streets of St. Petersburg, Florida, it's time for the Indy Lights, presented by Cooper Tires on the Advanced Auto Parts IndyCar Radio Network.
Time to go racing on a Sunday from beautiful, sunny St. Petersburg, Florida. Thanks for joining us on the Advanced Auto Parts IndyCar Radio Network. My name is Nick Yeoman. Happy to be joined by Davey Hamilton in the booth as we're set to go racing again in the Indy Lights Series presented by Cooper Tires. We've got a full-fledged crew out on the course and down on pit lane again as we are set to cover this 45-lap race or an hour, whichever comes first. The Indy Lights Series presented by Cooper Tires. Davey Hamilton, Colton Herta starts on the pole. He was maybe the fastest car yesterday. Yesterday's winner, Aaron Telitz, who dominated, he starts 10th. So I'd say we got a fair bit of intrigue in this event.
It's going to be interesting for sure, Nick. And the thing is passing is very difficult here. And with Turn 3 reconfiguration, it's really taken away Turn 4 passing zone. So it's really narrowed this race down to one good passing zone coming down into Turn 1. So it's interesting. We seen yesterday it took a lot of work for guys to pass people. So Telitz is going to have his hands full. But as you said, I'm not so sure. I don't know who had fastest lap yesterday because it kept changing, but Colton Herta was making some ground, and he was getting some passing done, and him starting on the pole, he's going to be hard to beat.
Drivers getting strapped in their cars as we speak. Let's hear from the pole sitter. He caught up with Rob Howden after qualifying yesterday morning.
You know, you come into this program here as a 16-year-old, as a rookie, getting that first pole kind of makes you feel good, gives you a bit of confidence. Talk about the session a little bit and how that car kind of came alive at the end of that session.
Yeah, it was nervous the whole time, really on edge, but we made a few tweaks when we came in for a new set of sticker tires from Cooper, and it all came together. It's pretty cold right now, so the tires had to come up to temp. It took a little bit longer than yesterday, but we did the business in the end.
Were you surprised by the way the tires came in, or were you exactly what you expected in terms of the way the tires were going to play out once you got rolling?
We haven't run new tires this early in any testing or anything, so I wasn't really sure what to expect. But yeah, they came in perfectly. Everything was fine, and it shows on the timesheets.
That's your pole sitter for today, Colton Herta. As for yesterday's race, dominated all 35 laps, led by the rookie Aaron Telitz. He's the defending Pro Mazda champion, and boy, he was awful fired up. Here's Aaron Telitz in victory lane yesterday here on the streets of St. Pete.
It's incredible. I don't even know where to start. The car was amazing. The Boulevardy Auto Racing guys have done such an incredible job all weekend. Start was a little hectic. I think everybody used their push to pass, and I didn't. And so I was getting passed down into Turn 1, but ended up all right for me in the end.
That is the winner from yesterday, Aaron Telitz. He picked up the win. Colton Herta finished second. Neil Alberico was third. Rest of the top five saw Shelby Blackstock come home in fourth. Pato Award finished fifth. Again, Davey, that race yesterday, Telitz up front dominated, but throughout the field, we saw guys banging wheels, testing the limits of this racetrack, and quite a bit of side-by-side action.
Yeah, from really third back to about 9th or 10th was exciting racing. I nose to tail, and that last lap was wild. I mean, we was watching Telitz because he was leading the race, right? But if you look back at the field, those guys were banging off the wall, rubbing each other, and they were trying to get their last lap, gain on the last lap. But they all made it through it, by the way. I think Kaiser may have got the worst of it, but he made it through and got a decent finish.
Here's how they'll start today. In row number 1, it is Colton Herta to the inside, the pole sitter to his outside, Santi Urrutia, who's really looking for a bounce back. He had issues early in yesterday's event and only finished 13th, so the championship contender from Uruguay will have a chance to go to victory lane as he starts on the outside of row number 1. In row 2, Dalton KELLETT and PATO Award. Row 3, we'll see Kyle Kaiser and Nico Jamin. In row number 4, Neil Alberico, fresh off of that first career podium finish. He'll start to the inside. To the outside is Juan Piedrahita, who gave that Team Pelfrey car a good ride yesterday. In row number 5, Zachary Clayman DeMello and yesterday's winner, Aaron Tielitz. Row 6, Shelby Blackstock and Matthias Laced, who finished shotgun on the field yesterday with issues. Row number 7 is Nico DePero and Ryan Norman. And starting in the final row by himself in 15th is Garth Rickards. Well, this is a very tricky racetrack. We had a chance to talk with Neil Alberico earlier this week as he took us around on a lap of this 14-turn, 1.8-mile street course here in St. Pete. It's very tricky, and here's Neil Alberico again giving you an idea of just how tough it is getting around the streets of St. Pete.
This place is a lot less bumpy than most street courses, but going down turn 1 flat out, fast part of the track, hard brake zone across the airstrip, back across turn 1. Turn 2 is really close to flat, setting for what is a new turn 3, handling the bumps over there, and that's your good exit up onto the back straight going down into turn 4. That's another passing opportunity. It gets pretty hairy down there in that technical section, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 on the starts. So hard brake zone again into turn 4, really tight and tidy through 5, 6, 7, 8. 9 is really important on getting a good run down the back straight because 9A is flat. A little kink down there going into the last hard brake zone, which is turn 10. So that kind of finishes your lap down on the qualifying line down there through turn 11, 12 is a flat out, quick right-left section. And then you got your hairpin to finish off the last lap. So technical track, got 14 corners around this place, and it's a good place to race.
Davey Hamilton, a lot of places around this racetrack that can reach out and bite these young drivers, isn't it?
Yeah, and he's exactly right. So you look at passing zones. That's one thing that I always look at when you go to road and street courses. Where is the passing zones? And you want to be the fastest you can going into those passing zones so nobody can overtake you. And that really was turn 10. And then sometimes turn 14, sometimes we've seen some action down there, but turn 1 and 4 were really key. We've taken 4 out. We're taking 4 out, so it's really kind of down into turn 10 and turn 1, so it's going to be an interesting race. It is a great racetrack. They have smoothed it out. So there's some new areas, some concrete and asphalt that are very smooth and more grip. But that chicane in turn 3, it definitely is a challenge.
Well, the engines have been fired, those 15 Mazda engines, and these fantastic Dallara race cars set to go racing here on the streets of St. Petersburg. Colton Hurd is going to lead them off of pit lane momentarily. We've got a couple good ones down there that are going to be reporting throughout the course of this event from pit lane. We'll start with Rob Howden.
You know, Nick, here's the variables I'm seeing in this grid here. It's in the front 2 rows. You've got Colton Hurd, a young driver, second yesterday, looking to go for the race win. But behind him, we have all the ingredients for a very exciting turn number 1. You've got Santi Urruti on the outside, runner-up last year. He DNF'd yesterday. This kid's going to want to win, and we know how fiery Santi can be, especially when he's challenged. He's been put in a corner a little bit with the issue he had yesterday. Behind them on road number 2, Dalton KELLETT, his best career start. He's never started up by road number 2. Let's see how he handles the pressure, and alongside him, another driver, the wild card, PATO Award, the Team Pelfrey number 3. It'll be interesting to see what he does. He's only in for this race here right now. If he wins, he may be back for Barber Motorsports Park.
Also excited to have Joel Sebastianelli down there on pit lane. Joel, a lot of guys had issues yesterday. This is going to be a day of redemption, I think, for some of these Indy Lights drivers.
Well, it was crazy from the get-go. 4 wide for the lead, turn 1, lap 1. Talked to some of the guys who were in that battle, and one of them, Juan Piedrahita, starts 8th today. It sounds like most of them are hoping that caution will prevail. Juan said that, maybe I made the mistake of trying to win the race on the first lap, but as Davey mentioned, one of those passing zones in turn 4 has essentially been taken away. So especially for those guys starting at the back of the field, this start, lap 1, turn 1 is going to be crucial. A couple things I noticed. Aaron Tielitz yesterday running a set of sticker tires. Nobody on stickers today. All scuffed Coopers and rear wings positioned all the way forward.
Thank you so much, Joel. You and Rob have a good time down there on pit lane. We'll hope for a good, clean, safe race. Got a couple guys out on the course. They're going to help us call it as the field makes their way out of turn 14 to complete pace lap number 1. That means just 1 to go until we'll see the green flag. High above this racetrack, he's got a bird's eye view. He'll be calling turns 3 through about 8 if he wants. Jake Query, how's that view up there this good Sunday morning?
It is spectacular. It is protected a bit by cloud cover. The Northern Trust Bank building on 1st Street here in St. Petersburg is where I'm perched, out on the balcony of Squaremouth, the travel insurance corporation, who has been kind enough, Chris Harvey and his group, to open up the balcony once again for me this year. I watched the field, as you mentioned. They take that right-handed turn number 3. Then it's a long way, about 5 blocks, if you will, up 1st Street here in St. Petersburg. The right-handed turn number 4 just below me. They work their way around Pioneer Park. By the time they've done so, it's a left-handed turn number 5, then another right-handed turn number 6, a right-handed turn number 7. They work their way back into the view of Al Lang Stadium, Mahaffey Theater, the Salvador Dali Museum, and they come into the view of Dave First.
Yep, Jake, once they work their way through that technical portion of the race course, they can open it up as they plow through the gears heading down Bayshore Drive. On their right, the beautiful Mahaffey Theater, and then the world-famous Salvador Dali Museum. To their left, multi-million-dollar yachts all docked at the Yacht Club, including one belonging to IndyCar team owner Roger Penske. It's at that point they climb onto the brakes, make a 90-degree left-hander trying to avoid the wall on the right, which has reached out and bit some of the best of them in IndyCar. We're ready to go, overlooking Dan Weldon Way, on the way to the start of race number 2 here this afternoon.
Jake, Dave, thank you very much. After they leave that view of Dave First, it's a little switchback S-complex for these drivers that can be awful tricky, all leading up to that turn 14 hairpin, that final 90-degree turn that the field will matriculate through right now. Alignment looks pretty good. Colton Herta is your pole sitter. Santi Urrutia to his outside. Keep those fingers crossed that will make it through turn number 1. Green flag waves. Urrutia quickly ducks behind Herta. Now pops to the outside. They'll go 3 and 4 wide behind him. Herta locks him up just a bit. A lot of brake smoke and some wheel banging further back, but Colton Herta is clear. He has the lead, Jake Query, and he'll bring Santi Urrutia with him through turn number 3.
They go around that turn number 3, single file. As a matter of fact, now all of a sudden it's Nico Jamin into the wall. That allows Colton Herta to pull away just a little bit. Juan Pedrahita and as well his teammate Award go side by side. Full course caution here on lap number 1.
And it looks like it's going to be a 2-car incident, Jake. As you mentioned, Nico Jamin has pounded the outside wall. Davey, it looks like the gentleman that was on the podium for the first time yesterday, Neil Alberico, got a piece of that as well. They made it through turn 1, but that tricky turn 3 claimed 2 race cars.
Yeah, it was actually right at turn 3 again, and I don't know if they hit the curbing. Boy, somebody's coming really late, too.
That's Ryan Norman.
No, he must have had a late on the start, must have had an issue or something, because just coming by the accident now. But I don't know if they hit the curb, or we're going to have to watch a replay right now, but definitely hard contact for both of those cars in turn 3.
Again, that is Nico Jamin, the rookie driver for Andretti Autosport, and Neil Alberico. And, Davey, you got a good look at the replay here. Boy, it almost looked like the rear of that car just bounced off the ground for Jamin.
Well, it happened way before, and actually Alberico, you can see his left front tire already damaged. He ran into the back of Jamin in turn 2, basically. Was way before turn 3. Got him up in there, and they landed. They both had damage at that point. So, yeah, that was just a tight field coming through there is what it was.
The good news with turn 3 and turn 2 being manipulated, that is a slower portion of the racetrack. Neither one of those hits considered severe. Both of those drivers out of those race cars. But Jake Query, the day is done for both Neil Alberico and Nico Jamin.
Yeah, just wanted to pass that along, Nick, because it is just below me here where Nico Jamin has gotten out of his race car. Neil Alberico just about a city block behind him, but wanted to pass along both of them once that Homatro safety crew was right there, waited, lifted up that visor, and hopped out under their own power.
David, we saw things pretty nice and even up front. Colton Herta smoked the tires a bit getting into turn 1, but from about third on back, it was 3 or 4 wide getting into turn 1. As it funnels into turn 2 and turns 3, this was pretty much bound to happen.
Yeah, no, it just gets so tight down there, and it was a kind of odd situation because he got ran into the back of a guy, and so, but that happens. He may have lifted, you can't tell, we're not in those cockpits, but Jermaine may have lifted just that little teeny bit, and really at that point, it just left Alberico with nowhere to go.
So, again, a full course caution on the opening lap of this second race of the Indy Lights Series presented by Cooper Tires. Here's the running order, how they made it through the rest of the field through turns 3 and 4, and now bunched up behind the pace car. It is Colton Herta who is your leader. Santi Urrutia was able to slot into the second position. Kyle Kaiser actually jumped from 5th all the way to 3rd on that opening lap, so a nice move by that Juncos driver. Dalton Kellett runs 4th. Pato Award is 5th. Juan Pedrojita runs in 6th. He picked up 2 spots on the start. Matthias Leist, he also slid his way from 12th all the way to the 7th position on the start. Shelby Blackstock runs 8th. Our winner yesterday, Aaron Telitz, is in the 9th position. Nico DePero is 10th. Zach Clayman DeMello is 11th. Garth Ricards is 12th. Ryan Norman is 13th. And the first 2 cars out of the race, Nico Jamin, who yesterday had a 7th place finish, and Neil Alberico, who again was on the podium, first career podium. So much momentum, Davey. That's a tough way for a driver to bounce back just one day after having his best finish of his career.
Yeah, boy, how about this sport, right? On top of the world one day, and the next day you don't even make it through 3 corners, and you're out of the event. So, he's definitely. It's definitely not a good feeling, but it's the start of the season. There's a long ways to go. Good things could happen. Looks like they're actually doing a lot of repair to the wall. Move the wall out a little bit. They hit it hard enough, and we see one wrecker picking up one of the cars, but still need a second one for the Alberico car. So it's taking a little while to clean up. It's an area too, Nick, where there's walls on both sides. There's not a lot of places for safety equipment and people to be. So they're doing a good job by trying to get us ready to go racing here.
And again, that Homatro safety crew, I mean, we sing their praises every year, but I don't think enough can be said. This is a group that travels full-time with the series. They go to every single race, so they work with the IndyCar series. They know these drivers, and most importantly, Davey, they have experience with these racetracks. A lot of these guys on the Homatro safety crew have been coming to St. Petersburg for a decade now. They know these walls. They know the racetrack. They know what they want to see in terms of whether a wall needs repaired or doesn't. And in this situation, as you can see, they're going to make some repairs to that outside wall.
Yeah, and they, like I said, they know what they're doing. You never want to question them because they have the experience, and it's in an area where you're coming off a corner. You want the wall smoother, just in case a car is to get up next to that wall and ride it. You don't want any edges of the wall protruding out to catch you and make it even worse. So they'll take their time, get it right, and we'll go racing momentarily.
Just got a note from Race Control that we're going to have the Team Pelfrey machines. They're going to swap positions, had a pass under the yellow, and that a lot of times is going to happen when you have an opening lap accident. There's a lot of slotting, and guys are going to jump off the throttle and observe the caution a little bit earlier than others. So Pato Award, who was in 5th, will give up that position to his teammate Juan Pedrojita. Again, working a full course caution here early in Indy Lights race number 2. Rob Howden is with one of those drivers who unfortunately is out of this event early.
Nico, first thing, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. It was not a big contact. I mean, I just clipped the wall and ended my race, but yeah, I'm absolutely fine, yeah.
So you come through turn number 1. Obviously, it was a little bit hectic. You were able to get through cleanly. Did you just feel a shot in the back? The replay looked like Neil just got in the back of you.
Yeah, I mean, I got through turn 1 nice and clean, and then I went through turn 2. I had the advantage. I was in front of him, but there's just no room for 2 cars there. And I think the best option for him would have been to go in the shortcut and give back the position, because there's no way we can fit 2 cars through there. So, yeah, we touched and it sends me into the wall on the left, and that ended the race.
I just look forward to Barber Motorsports Park now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nico Jamin, ladies and gentlemen, one of the top drivers in the Pro Mazda category last year, out early here. We'll go up pit lane to Joe Sebastianelli.
Neil Alberico finished 3rd in yesterday's race, unfortunately unable to make it through the first lap today. What happened, Neil?
I was just on the outside of turn 2, side by side with Nico the whole time. We exited fine, and we're just going in a straight line up into turn 3, and he just turned me right in the wall. So kind of a bummer, but hopefully we come back at Barber and have another couple good results. A long way to go in the championship.
Yesterday we saw 4 wide in turn 1, some beating and banging out there today. Did you think that guys were being a little over-aggressive on the start?
It's the first race of the year. I think everyone gets a little anxious, but I was hoping today we'd get a clean one and just kind of pick guys off, but couldn't even get through the first lap without other drivers making a mistake.
How do you put this behind you as you head to Barber?
Yeah, you just forget about it and move on. Start all over with a clean slate the next race.
Neil Alberico still in the championship hunt because there is a long way to go, guys.
Yeah, it's a great point, Joel. It is a very, very long season, and a lot of points can be made up. Davey, the comments that I gather, let's see, Jamin said Alberico should have took the shortcut, just gone over the curbing and given the spot back. Alberico says, yeah, he just kind of ran me off the racetrack.
Well,
that's what we call a racing deal, right?
You know what? And it's risk to reward, and I think they're both seeing that right now. And I have to, from the outside looking in, I mean, I'm not in the cockpit, but it's just like if you're on the street, the guy in the back and it runs into somebody is usually the problem. And to me, Alberico should have gave him the space. It's risk to reward. I mean, yes, were they tight through there? Yes, was he up there, but not completely beside him for sure, because his front touched Jameen's back. So it's now you look back at that and it's risk to reward. It's like, should have I went through there side by side with him, knowing that a curbing's coming up in turn 3 and it's going to get very, very tight? I'm sure you'd think it over again, but it obviously didn't work. So, they'll go back and think about it, and it was a racing incident, but, you need to learn how to minimize those accidents.
Let's go to pit lane. Rob Howden, you're standing by with John Doonan from Mazda.
Getting a chance to talk to the man from Mazda here right now. John, great to have you here. You were able to throw the green flag. That looked like a lot of fun. Last year we had an unbelievable season, 7 winners in the first 8 races, a high level of competition. It seems to me like we're going to have it again. The Mazda, obviously in the back of all the race cars, you got to be pleased with this level of competition.
Thanks, Rob. When we are, you look at qualifying yesterday, or I guess it was Friday, and you have 5 different teams at the top. And what better place for teams and drivers to showcase their talent than the Mazda Road to Indy? What we've been able to do with Dan Anderson and the whole Anderson Promotions team, everybody at Cooper, Chris Pantani and his crew. This is really special and nothing like it in the world, we like to say. And to see all these drivers have this chance and then hopefully get that chance at the Verizon IndyCar Series level is exactly what this whole thing's all about.
Obviously the Mazda Scholarship Program has been huge. It's been able to bring guys like Spencer Pigot all the way to the Verizon IndyCar Series. Well, that program had an unbelievable day yesterday. All 3 of your Mazda-sponsored drivers, the scholarship drivers, the champions from last year, were able to win yesterday. Oliver Askew winning, Anthony Martin, and, of course, Aaron Telitz as well. What a big day.
Amazing day. 3 Soul Red Mazdas in Victory Circle, but our staff was walking out of here last night on the way to dinner and just said it's proof of concept. This whole program started, honestly, 10 years ago. And the number of drivers that we've been able to support with scholarships and drivers that are now coming from around the world, this is what it's all about, a clear, concise path of scholarships to showcase driving talent and hopefully give them the chance to grow their careers in a Mazda-powered car.
We got a Verizon IndyCar Series race later today. You'll be cheering for Spencer Pigot and Ed Jones.
Well, the whole list is growing now. Ed Jones, James Hinchcliffe, Spencer Pigot, Graham Rahal, they've all at some point of their career been on the Mazda Road to Indy, and we're really proud of that. We hopefully can continue to provide this program for the industry, and hopefully one day someone's standing there on the Yard of Bricks as a part of and as a result of the Mazda Road to Indy.
John, thank you so much.
Thanks, Rob.
I'll tell you, Nick Yeoman, he talks about getting a guy there with that big trophy standing on the Yard of Bricks at the Indianapolis 500. The way they're going, the entire grid is going to be Mazda Road to Indy graduates sooner or later. That is going to be a fact sooner or later down the line.
Yeah, that percentage continues to increase because just so much great talent coming through the Indy Lights Series. Cleanup has been completed. Field will make their way out of turn number 14, and we're going to go back to racing here on lap number 5. And Davey, Juan Piedrahita has spun out of turn 14. He does not make contact. He'll keep that car in line, but he's going to go to the tail of the field. Back up front, Colton Herta. He's going to be challenged by Santi Urrutia. Everybody going to mind their P's and Q's, Jake Query, on this restart lap as Herta leads him through turn number 3.
So Herta through turn number 3, about a 2-car length advantage. Front 3 spaced out pretty evenly. You've got Herta, then Urrutia. Kyle Kaiser moves right there on the heels of Santi Urrutia. It's Colton Herta now through turn number 5. They work their way around Pioneer Park. Nick, to your point, everybody single file, I think a little more cautious this time by. That's to the advantage of the 16-year-old Colton Herta. Starts to draw just a little bit of room between himself and Santi Urrutia.
Colton Herta, yep, discretion, the better part of valor for everyone behind him. You see the number 5 missing of Santi Urrutia, not making up any ground through turn 10, Dan Weldon Way, as they complete their first hot lap here today.
Boy, those issues, Davey, for Juan Piedrahita out of turn 14. Let's clean up that issue just a bit. On a restart, boy, it just looked like he looped it.
Just got on the throttle a little quick, which is easy to do, coming onto that runway, actually, off of turn 14 onto the long straightaway. Just overpowered that teeny bit, spun the tires, and like I say, he continued continue going, but it put him to the back of the field.
Big brake lockup further back in the field for Shelby Blackstock in that bright red car. Jake Query, he's going to have yesterday's winner in that soul red Mazda. Aaron Telitz all over the rear wing.
That's the battle technically for 6th position. As a matter of fact, Telitz is right there, and Laced is just in front of Shelby Blackstock. The leaders already now around Pioneer Park. Going in between 1 and 2, it looks like Herta all of a sudden has Urrutia right on his heels. But then that long stretch between 3 and 4, Colton Herta first starts to get himself some breathing room.
Yep, they blast through the gears, and Herta with a nice lead, perhaps doing his best Aaron Telitz impression here this morning. Santi Urrutia, he remains in second. Telitz makes a move on Blackstock. He makes up his position here this morning.
So Aaron Telitz is on the move early as he gets past Blackstock. That'll move him into the 7th position. Leaders off of turn number 14. Blackstock's now going to have his hands full with Nicholas DePero and Davey. This is something we saw yesterday, battling throughout the pack.
Yeah, which is good. And Telitz, now he's going to find out how good his car really is. How good can he pass? How good can he come through traffic? Yesterday, he was on the pole, took off, left everybody in his dust. But now he's having to work at it, and that really tells you how good that car is.
Really nice pass by Pato O'Ward into turn number 1 as he got around Dalton Kellett. So move Pato O'Ward into the 4th position. Here's how they run with 8 laps in the books. It's Colton Herta, your leader. Santi Urrutia second. Kyle Kaiser is third. Dalton Kellett fourth. Pato O'Ward is now 4th. Dalton Kellett will be slipped back to 5th. Matthias Laced is 6th. Aaron Telitz is up to 7th. Shelby Blackstock is 8th. Nico DePero is 9th. Zachary Clayman DeMello runs 10th. Ryan Norman is 11th. Garth Rickards is 12th. Juan Pedrojita 13th. And the 2 drivers out of the race, 14th and 15th, Nico Jabin and Neil Alberico. Dave, first, Aaron Telitz is on the move.
Yeah, we haven't seen this yet here this weekend under race conditions for the Indy Lights Series, but that time by, Aaron Telitz with a move to the left, and it was more than a move. He ended up making the pass inside of turn 10, so move Aaron Telitz, yesterday's winner, up to 6 here this morning.
Davey, he dominated yesterday's race as Shelby Blackstock's going to take a look to the inside of Matthias Laced as well. Not going to be able to pull off the pass, but yesterday for Aaron Telitz, he dominated the race, didn't get a chance to use that push-to-pass system, so you better believe he's going to lean on that button today.
He's leaning on it today, and he's pulling away. He's making ground, and as I said earlier, this tells you how good that car is, and it seems to be pretty darn good. Now, can he make up enough time to get up to that 2nd or 3rd spot or even give Herta a challenge? We'll soon see.
Rob Howden, Aaron Telitz started 10th. He is now up to the 6th position. And again, this new push-to-pass system in the Indy Lights Series, these drivers really seem to think they like it.
Yeah, Nick, a couple of increases in today's race that are going to play to Aaron Telitz. The race actually 10 laps longer, so he'll have more time to get to the front if it's a possibility for him. Of course, we will watch tire degradation as well. We expect those tires to go off a little more here at the end of the race. Plus, they get more push-to-passes. They got 15 10-second blasts yesterday. They'll get 20 here today, and you can be sure that Telitz will be using all of them. He'll need to be within a second of the guy in front of him in the right zone to use it, but he'll use all 20 trying to get himself back to the podium.
Got a good battle for 3rd developing. Pato O'Ward jumps to the outside of Kyle Kaiser, locks up the right front a bit. They're going to go wheel to wheel. They bang wheels. Here they come through turn 3, Jake Query. Pato O'Ward's going to pull off the pass on Kyle Kaiser.
Yep, Kaiser tucks in behind him now. As a matter of fact, O'Ward starts to get himself a couple of extra car links. Dalton Kellett wants to get a better look at that battle. He right now about 3 car links behind Kyle Kaiser.
Boy, what a nice pass by Pato O'Ward. Went to the outside and held on to it. Quite a bit of contact there at the exit of turn number 1, but O'Ward takes the spot, moves into the 3rd position, and Dave first. He's only got 2 cars now in his sights for the young Mexican driver.
Well, the problem is those 2 cars are still, I'm going to call it 12 car lengths away, but Pato O'Ward for the last lap and a half or so have been reeling in Kyle Kaiser. Finally got him that last time around. Pato O'Ward 3rd. Herta, Urrutia, O'Ward the top 3.
That is the top 3 as they run. Kyle Kaiser has slipped back to 4th, and as Jake talked about, may fall into the grasp of Dalton Kellett very shortly. Up front, though, Davey Hamilton, Colton Herta sets the fastest lap of the race at a minute 8.340. It's not like he's checked out on Santi Urrutia. That advantage is 1.7 seconds, but this 16-year-old looks awful fast and awful confident early in this race.
Well, and the key thing, I think, for Colton is he's about 0.2 seconds per lap faster. So every lap, he just keeps pushing it out there a little farther. Like you say, it's 1.7 seconds right now, but he's continuing to pull out a lead.
For more on that 16-year-old in the lead, Colton Herta, Rob Howden has more on pit lane.
Yeah, Nick, I had a chance to actually talk to Colton on pit lane during IndyCar warm-up this morning, and we talked about the car and maybe if they made any changes. He said no. I said that car was so good yesterday, we left it alone. We think we got a car that can take me to the front and let me pull away, and he obviously very confident after a great second-place run yesterday. But, again, no issues whatsoever yesterday, so they let the car go. Joel Sebastianelli, he's out front right now, and Colton Herta looking to get his first race win.
He is, and another guy looking to get his first race win, too, is Dalton Kellett. Everybody at Andretti Autosport that I talked to this morning seemed very pleased with the setup yesterday, so for the most part, they left it alone. Minimal changes between Saturday evening and Sunday morning, and Kellett was beaming ear to ear. This is his third year with Andretti, but he's still seeking his first win on the Mazda Road to Indy in his sophomore season in Indy Lights here. Started third this morning, but falling back a couple of spots to fifth right now.
Jake Query, let's pick up a battle a little bit further in the field. In the ninth position, that's Nico DePero, that Juncos car, and a guy darting to the inside, Zachary Clayman DeMello. That's tightening up.
Yeah, and just as you said that, they started to then separate just a little bit. That battle now works its way through 4 and 5. Shelby Blackstock is right there also, should he want to try to play with those two, but he's going to want to try to keep them about 10 car lengths at bay.
DePero makes his way out of turn number 9, headed towards turn 10, Dave first, about a 3 or 4 car length advantage back to Clayman DeMello.
I'll tell you, Urrutia, give him credit. He's not letting Herta get too far away from him, perhaps hoping for a caution to really bunch things up. And Santi Urrutia, who came oh so close to winning the 2016 Indy Lights Championship, he's keeping a close eye on Colton Herta here today.
It's Herta, Urrutia, Award, Kaiser, and Kellett, your top 5. Aaron Telitz runs in 6th. Matthias Leist is 7th. Nico DePero is holding down the 8th position. He's got his hands full, though, still with Zachary Clayman DeMello and that blue and green Carlin racing machine. Jake, they're nose to tail roaring out of turn 3.
And every time you say it out of 3, DeMello seems to fall just a little bit back. But right now it's about a 2-car length difference between those two. Again, Clayman DeMello trying to keep DePero in view. When they go through that turn number 6, they start to pull away just a little bit from the car who's trying to reel them in. That's Ryan Norman, who got off to a slow start today.
Dave first, is that advantage from second back to third decreasing at all with Urrutia to Award?
Hard to tell at this point because there's so much give and take, and you never know who's on the push to pass and who's not. But that battle for 9th certainly is a good one. DeMello and Nico DePero. Remember, it's a Carlin versus Juncos Racing. Nico DePero, very young, new to the series. DeMello has 1 year under his belt.
31 laps to go, Davey Hamilton, in this race here on the streets of St. Petersburg. Again, crazy opening lap. We sent 2 behind the wall, and Nico Jabin and Neil Alberico. There's days end early, and boy, Zachary Clayman DeMello going to pull off that pass now to the inside of Nico DePero, so move Clayman DeMello into the 9th position. But things calm down a little bit in this race, and these guys try to put in some laps. Again, this is a race that is a little bit longer, 45 laps instead of just 35 yesterday.
Yeah, and tires could play an issue, and I just kind of keeping track of lap times, and right now, Herta, Urrutia, and Award, those guys are running pretty close at the same time. Honestly, they're really, really close. But Herta, that leader, just a tick faster. Those guys just continues to pull out, stretch his lead out just a little bit more. But then I look back at Kellett. Kellett's hung up in traffic, obviously, right now, and he's trying to get by Kaiser. Actually, Kellett is on top of Kaiser right now, but he's losing some ground as well. They just got to keep pushing right now and hope tires don't wear out. Where yesterday they didn't. Remember, we looked halfway through the race, and fastest laps were being set. But that extra 10 laps could make a difference.
Jake Query, you've got a bird's eye view of this event, and so far, all these drivers playing nice here as we are 10 laps. We have 10 laps in the book.
Here's what's interesting, and I wanted Davey to touch on this perhaps. If everybody was starting out on scuffed tires in this particular Cooper Tires for race number 2, Davey, bottom line is right now this entire track is under cloud cover. Now, yesterday it was sun-drenched, but it was later in the day, so there were shadows that maybe altered things in periods. But on this particular morning, the entire track right now has the grace of that cloud overhead. How sensitive is this particular track to that sunlight, and is that maybe to the advantage of those who might need a little bit more tire wear?
Yeah, good point. Very good point, because with that cloud cover, it does help. Keeps the tires cooler a little bit, the brakes cooler, and the wear better. So with that cloud cover, it definitely helps these guys be more consistent and have those tires be more consistent, more importantly. So when it's sun drenched, the car seems to wear tires out quicker, and the balance of the car seems to be changed quite a bit. So, but very key point.
And that is, Davey, that's a factor that you would think certainly lends preference to the veteran drivers who have run on these tires. A guy like Santi Urrutia, who's in second, he knows what these tires are going to go throughout the course of a race.
Yeah, he's doing a good job, right? And I'm pretty sure he's pushing as hard as he can right now. And right, that last lap, Colton finally, every lap he just goes a little quicker. He just broke into the 107 bracket. Urrutia is 108.3, so almost a half a second different that lap. So what does that tell you? Did Urrutia make a little bit of a mistake and slow down? But Herta just keeps plugging away about a tenth quicker every lap.
Just had a change for the 12th position. Juan Pedro Hita, who had a spin on the restart, has run down Garth Ricards and made the pass in turn number 1. Misspoke just a minute ago. Now 17 laps in the books here on the streets of St. Petersburg. And Davey, you mentioned Santi Urrutia doing a good job. Colton Herta is starting to stretch that lead out. But Urrutia looks like he may have his hands full. That bright yellow car of Pato Award, who's shown speed all weekend, appears to be running him down.
Well, and back to lap times, he just set fastest lap of the race, or that lap of a 107.7. Actually, that is the fastest lap of the race. So he just he's laying it down. He's putting the pressure on Urrutia right now, and he needs to get by him to have a shot at Colton.
And Jake Query, looks like Santi Urrutia kind of searching for grip around this racetrack.
I'll tell you what, he has right now. Urrutia is that bright red car, and then right behind him in your eye, immediately that bright yellow of Award comes into view. Now, this is just after, of course, you've gotten used to seeing the fact that Colton Herta has run away. He's got about a 20 car length advantage right now.
How about one of the car owners for that car that is leading the pack right now? Rob Howden, I imagine Michael Andretti got to be pretty excited to have Colton Herta underneath that Andretti-Steinbrunner banner.
Michael, you've had some great drivers in your Indy Lights team. Of course, last year winning the Freedom with Dean Stoneman. What are your initial thoughts seeing Colton in his first weekend here this year?
Very, very impressive. I think he's proven already that he's the real deal. So we're really excited for him. He's so young. He's got so much ahead of him. He's got a bright future.
What about the maturity yesterday, the way he was able to work his way back from sixth position, the passes he made, especially that last pass without the push-the-pass option? For me, that was just unbelievable.
Very, very impressive. Very mature drive. I couldn't have been more proud of him.
Did you have any kind of pep talk here today to talk to him about how to handle the pole position opposed to coming through the field?
No, I didn't think we really need to. He knows what he needs to do, and you saw what he did at the start. He did it was perfect start, for what he needed to do, and not allow those guys to get a shot at him. So, he's doing a very good job.
Good chance we'll see you in victory lane.
We'll see. I hope so.
Michael Andretti, Nick, he's got a lot of confidence in his young charge. What an impressive run here for Colton Herta. What a debut weekend for the young Californian.
Yeah, it's a great point, Rob. And Davey, if Michael Andretti, who's a veteran of this sport, has been in victory lane all over the world and certainly both in the race car and on the pit box, when he doesn't feel like he needs to give a 16-year-old a pep talk to focus on the pole, I think that says a lot about the maturity of Colton Herta.
And what's crazy about, and a lot of these young kids and Colton as well is, they've been doing this so long in other forms. Colton started out as a very, very young kid and been to Europe, and he has a great instructor and obviously the genes to be very successful at this. So when you get a kid that gets it, and he listens and he does everything proper and he's done all the listening. He's 16, but he doesn't know it all. But right now, it sure looks like he does.
Last couple laps, Pato Award set the fastest lap of the race and started to reel in Santi Urrutia. And then last lap, Urrutia said, okay, I'll step it up a bit. And he turns the fastest lap of the event so far at a minute 7.590. So that battle for second continues to be an interesting one. They're separated by just 0.8 of a second. Up front, though, Dave, first, Colton Herta cruising right now, 2.7 seconds ahead of the field.
Yeah, that battle for second's not bad. I'm going to predict that we're going to have a battle for fifth here momentarily. Aaron Thielen starts to reel in Dalton Kellett a little bit, so yesterday's winner perhaps on the move here this morning.
Yeah, we see him roar out of turn number 14. That's a great point, Dave. First, Aaron Telitz is now close to within about 3 or 4 car lengths. As for that battle for second, Davey, as they make their way into turn number 1, we see Urrutia and Pato Award. Award looking awful smooth through the S's there.
He is looking really good, and he's definitely making ground on Urrutia. And Telitz is, as Dave said, he is close to Kellett, but he's not within the time to use his push-to-pass. So he's got to gain just a little bit more, but once he gets to that area, I expect to see him make a pass for 5th.
And that magic distance is just 1 second. You have to be 1 second within the car in front of you to be able to open up that car and use that extra horsepower. So as you mentioned, for some of these drivers, for Telitz, he was 0.7 of a second back before the previous lap. Again, Award is just 0.9 of a second, so that's going to fluctuate throughout the course of a lap. And, boy, you just got to get close enough to get that run.
Yeah, he's 1.1. He was just barely off last, but now he's within. He's 0.8 off, so he could use it this time coming down that front straightaway. And we're going to see if he does right now to see if he can gain on him.
Up front, it is Colton Herta, who has led every single lap, all 20 laps so far, followed by Santi Urrutia, and then the Mexican driver, Pato Award. Colton Herta now sets the fastest lap of this event. Further back in 4th is Kyle Kaiser. 5th is Dalton Kellett. Let's pick up that battle for 5th as Dalton Kellett makes his way through turns 1 and 2. Jake Query, yesterday's winner, Aaron Telitz in that Soul Red Mazda car. Again, starting to reel in that second-year driver for Andretti Autosport.
Yeah, Kellett has had an active day already, no doubt about it. Kyle Kaiser in front of him, and of course he has also been holding off at different times, laced earlier in this race, but now he's got, as you had mentioned, the guy that yesterday flat out was dominant in Telitz, who is right behind him. You have to wonder when that push to pass might come into play. Not right now is the answer, because it's about a 25-yard or so advantage for Kellett.
Yeah, Dalton Kellett chalked last year up as a learning experience. Didn't exactly have the results that he wanted, although he's getting a little bit of a result right now, able to make up a little bit of room between he and Telitz. Let's call it 4 car lengths as they head to turn 14.
Davey, for those joining us online, they're getting a good shot of that onboard of Aaron Telitz and that Soul Red Mazda for Bilardi Auto Racing, going through the fastest part of this racetrack right now into turn number 1.
Yeah, and I didn't see any hand movement on the steering wheel to push the overtake button, not knowing exactly where it is on his particular steering wheel, but it looks like he's not using it yet and maybe saving it for later on in this event.
And Jake Query, he is not necessarily in the clear because Matthias Laced is just about 3 or 4 car lengths behind yesterday's winner.
Yeah, Laced has had a pretty active day as well. I mentioned it earlier on, and now he's trying to close in. It's funny, Nick, you are right on it, because just as we were starting to think that Telitz was going to get there on Kellett, then Lace said, you know what, I'd kind of like to get involved in this procedure. Once they come, we've got a problem now, just out of my view, but I can tell that somebody has made contact. It is Dalton Kellett who has made contact out of turn number 7, comes to a stop just outside of turn number 8, where that car comes to a stall, and now this full course has come under the caution flag.
Davey, we were watching that onboard of Aaron Telitz. It happened right in front of him there exiting Pioneer Park.
Yeah, what happened coming off of turn 8, which is a difficult spot. There's a crown in the road, so when you come off that corner and you get, it feels like you have good grip in the center of the corner, but on exit, the road crowns off. Cars get loose there as the tires wear, and he was pushing it, spun that thing, got the nose in the wall, ripped the front nose wing off, and he was the only car involved, but that could have been worse than it was because right behind him, right? I mean, that was Titus was right behind him, if I recall, and he could have got in there. But what this does for everybody is going to pack the field up again and give everybody another shot to fight with that car in front of them.
And you better believe they're all going to be within a second of each other on the restart. So that is certainly big for a lot of those drivers in second and third. We'd like Mark Reynolds, the general manager, and all the folks at the St. Petersburg Yacht Club for offering us an announcer position on the roof. The St. Petersburg Yacht Club offers a full-service catering department with over 10,000 square feet of space for private banquets, weddings, corporate meetings, bridal showers, and civic events. So, again, thanks to Mark Radams, the general manager of the folks at the St. Petersburg Yacht Club here this weekend. So, Colton Herta, Santi Urrutia, Pato Award, Kyle Kaiser, and Aaron Telitz, the top 5. Dalton Kellett has made his way down to pit lane. Rob Howden, you got a good eye on that race car for Andretti Autosport?
Yeah, right here, right now, Nick. And just like everybody on the team and the guys from Cooper Tire having a good look at it, they're trying to see what kind of damage was done. There was obviously some contact on the left side of the race car. He white-walled both cars. They had to put a new front wing on it as well. They're going to work on the left, or rather the left rear. It's going to be a new right rear on the car. So significant contact here, Nick Yeoman. He really white-walled the left side of the car and a flat right rear and a new front wing. So a lot of work for Dalton Kellett trying to get him back out.
And we are back to green flag action here as the pace car is pulled in. So a quick full course caution. PATO Award's going to try to jump to the outside of Santi Urrutia. They're going to go side by side. Urrutia muscles him out of the way and holds on to that second position. So, Jake, a great start for Colton Herta, but second through about seventh is awful tight.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, that battle for third right now is a good one as well. Kaiser is going to make the move. As a matter of fact, he's going to go to the inside, put Kyle Kaiser now into that third position. So Colton Herta is your leader. Then behind him it's Urrutia. Kaiser runs now in third, and Award shuffled back to fourth, working their way around Pioneer Park. And now Colton Herta tries to extend that lead. He's got about a 12-car length advantage on Santi Urrutia.
All that jockeying behind Colton Herta has helped Colton Herta. Urrutia now has lost a lot of ground. Kyle Kaiser running third. PATO Award hangs on to fourth. And guess what? Here comes Aaron Thielitz moving up as well.
A lot of jockeying for position. Shelby Blackstock is all over the rear wing of Matthias Lace. That's a battle for six as they make their way through turns 14. Colton Herta with a nice 10 to 15 car length advantage as he crosses the stripe to complete lap number 25. Santi Urrutia safely in second. Kaiser has moved up to third. PATO Award is fifth, but Jake Query Award and that bright yellow machine has yesterday's winner bearing right down on the rear wing. That's Aaron Thielitz through turn number 3.
The last time by, there was a sizable gap between the two of them. Now it is absolutely become noticeably closer. Thielitz now is moving his way, trying to close in. And right now we have Rickards also has a problem, Nick. Can't see it right now, but this field works its way around Pioneer Park.
Yeah, Jake, that might just be just out of your view. That's at the exit of turn number 3, that new portion of the racetrack. That is Garth Rickards has brought out a full course caution. Davey, not sure what happened, but that was a big hit for that driver for Carlin.
Yeah, another big hit, and that's the second Carlin car in the wall in turn 3 right there. This wasn't just a little one. This car's wiped out big time. Looks like he's okay. He's not out of the car yet. Yeah, he gave a little thumbs up there, so he's fine. But, boy, that car got destroyed.
So a full course caution for Garth Rickards, who has wrecked that Carlin racing machine in turn number 3, pounding the outside wall. So that leaves Colton Herta up front. Santi Urrutia second, Kyle Kaiser third, PATO Award is fourth, Aaron Thielitz is fifth, Matthias Lace is sixth, Shelby Blackstock is seventh, Zachary Clayman DeMello eighth, Nico DePero ninth, Juan Pedrojita 10th. And again, Davey, good to see him now hopping out of that race car.
Yeah, he's definitely okay. But, boy, he did wipe that car. They're tearing a lot of carnage in today's race compared to yesterday. Yesterday, pretty clean, had a few little incidents. But today, boy, there's some big hits going on.
Let's go to pit lane. Joel Sebastianelli, he's down in that Pelfrey pits. They're certainly keeping their eye on 4th place running PATO Award and 10th place running Juan Pedrojita.
They are. PATO Award looking quite racy today and yesterday as we expected. Last year in Pro Mazda, you had a chance to see him with Pelfrey as well. 6 wins in the first 7 races. How have you seen PATO grow?
Yeah, he's an amazing driver. He's doing a really mature job out there, considering it's his first race in Indy Lights and driving like a pro with a lot of experience. It's really tough out there, and it's some very good racing. So I hope we can keep it there up front.
This ride was just announced for PATO by you guys about a week ago. Is this something we could see materialize into a full season run?
We're definitely working on finding some extra funding for the rest of the year, but it's always tough, and we keep our fingers crossed.
Although Juan Pedrojita has not had quite the start to the race that he was expecting with that incident. I know he was telling me today he was really happy with the car. You optimistic about his chances and seeing him grow for the rest of the season as well?
Yeah, Juan's in for the season, and he's done an amazing job in off-season testing. He's found, some speed in himself. He just got caught out with the cold tires and the push to pass on the restart. Unfortunately, put himself to the back, but, he's making progress back through the field now, so we'll see what he can get done.
Okay, team boss Gary Neal and the rest of the Team Pelfrey guys keeping an eye on Pato Award and Juan Piedrahita throughout this race. Back to you in the booth.
Thank you, Joel. Davey, that Team Pelfrey group, that's another one of those that's kind of risen their way through the Mazda Road to Indy two-car lights program. Again, they're searching to try to get Pato Award in that car more often, but Juan Piedrahita is a full-time entry, and that's another young, up-and-coming team in this series.
Yeah, no, it's good to see Pelfrey. Dell's been around a long time. They have really good people in that team, and they all work hard, and they really want to not only be in the Indy Lights full time, in the Mazda Road to Indy Lights, but they want to be in the IndyCar series as well. So Dell's been around a long time. He knows this sport, but as we all talked, funding's really, really hard to find, but can't give up. Got to keep digging.
We've had 3 full course cautions today. This most recent one is for Garth Ricards, who has pounded the turn 3 wall. The first one was for Nico Jamina, Neil Alberico's full course accident. They're in that turn 3 portion of the racetrack as well. They're both out of the racetrack. That second full course caution, Rob Howden, was for Dalton Kellett, who spun exiting Pioneer Park.
Yeah, looking at the car, looking at the tires when they came off, a potential puncture, might have run over something on the track. So that probably what caused the loop. He just came out of that corner. You see it just kind of spun on him and into the wall. Big damage to the left side of the car, although he's even back on the racetrack. But indeed it was, Davey, likely a puncture of that right rear.
Yeah, well, even in the wreck we just seen, it was odd because he really didn't hit that curb very hard and went straight. So I wouldn't be surprised if there wasn't a puncture, a tire down, or something in as well, because it didn't really look like he banged that curb very hard, and but he did hit the wall hard, that's for sure.
How tough is it, Davey, on some of these street circuits? We see the Homatra safety crew up there cleaning up accidents. We see street sweepers trying to blow stuff off. But throughout the course of the weekend, there's going to be a lot of stuff laid down.
Yeah, and they do set. That's one key thing is these cars, the way they're made, the monocoques and the carbon fiber, and the way the cars are built to absorb impact to keep the driver safe. It lays a lot of debris out. A part of the deal with the debris is it's sharp carbon fiber and aluminum and magnesium and titanium and things that could puncture your tires fairly easy. So that's one key thing with this safety crew is not only do they make sure the driver's safe, it's their job to make sure the track's clean after these incidents. So a lot of work for these guys.
Rob Howden standing by with certainly a disappointed 24-year-old from Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania.
Garth, obviously a really hard hit for you there. First off, are you okay?
Yeah, all good. The cars are really safe, and thankfully, it held up. Just really disappointed. Mostly just a mistake from myself. Locked up the brakes in the 3 there. Been struggling there all weekend. Quite honestly, been struggling all weekend here. Feel like it's my first day here. But testing was good. So, we're getting lap by lap, getting more data, more confidence.
Start looking forward to April in Barber Motorsports Park. That's a track I know you like.
Yeah, that's, I've always struggled on the street course for some reason. So once we get to the natural terrain road courses, that seems to be my thing. Mid-Ohio, Barber, Watkins Glen, Road America. So just head down, analyze what I did wrong here, and learn and take it to all the next races.
Great to see that you're okay.
Thank you.
Garth Ricards, Nick, a hard hit, as he said, just a little error getting into the brakes into turn number 3. And it's a tough corner. They changed it midway through the weekend, and it's a very tough corner when you're coming out as well. A hard hit for him. They hopefully could get some tires there next year. We've had a couple of guys in there aggressively on the exit of that corner.
Yeah, Garth Ricards, not the first guy to hit the wall, heck, even in this race, and certainly with a lot of racing throughout the course of today. Probably not going to be the last one to test the limits of that turn 3 wall. Garth Ricards spent the last couple of years in USF 2000, bypassed that Pro Mazda step to join Team Carlin in Indy Lights this season. His father, John, is the president of the Bobby Rahal Auto Group in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. So good connection there to have. Bobby Rahal thinks awful high of this young man. And I like what I heard from him, Davey. He admits, hey, I got a lot to learn struggling on these street courses. But the nice thing, I only got a couple of them throughout the course of the season.
Yeah, right. Well, and he knows. I mean, then that's one key thing, right? If you know your weakness and you know you need to fix it, go after it. Don't deny it. And he said he made a mistake. He needs to get better on the temporary courses, which he is right. They're very difficult. I mean, there's no room for error. And as you know, it's exciting to see him get on the permanent courses where he's much more comfortable.
Colton Herta is your leader. Santi Urrutia is second. Kyle Kaiser third. Pato Award fourth. Aaron Thielitz fifth. Your top 5 is working a full course caution. Davey, you can see that Carlin machine being towed off the racetrack. That was a pretty big hit.
Yeah, it was definitely a big hit. A lot of stuff off that race car, and they take the hits, don't they? I mean, no injury. What the most important thing, keeping these drivers safe for these Dallara cars, and and but they'll get it fixed back up for the next race, that's for sure.
16 laps to go, or 18 and a half minutes. Again, this race was scheduled for 45 laps or 1 hour. Whatever happens first. Looks like this more than likely, Davey, probably going to end up a timed event,
race, yeah.
Which is fine. We'll the timing scoring, we'll update it, and we'll keep you in the loop of just how much time is left when it is the white flag is given. We're going to see the 1 to go now at the line this time by as the field making their way through turn number 10. So one more full lap around this very tricky 14-turn, 1.8 mile street course here in beautiful St. Petersburg, Florida. Overcast skies today here in St. Petersburg. Kind of a little cool this morning. We got to the racetrack, and we're keeping our fingers crossed that Mother Nature cooperates throughout the course of this afternoon. But everyone chasing Colton Herta. He has led every single lap so far today, and did get a warning from race control for this upcoming restart that the number 98 car of Colton Herta, when he exits turn number 10 before the grain, needs to maintain that pace car speed. He did get an awful big jump on that previous restart, Davey, and that's the area of the racetrack exiting turn 10. It's put in the driver's hands as the pace car exits the racetrack, but still got to maintain that pace car speed.
Well, you might as well take advantage of it until they tell you, right?
That's right.
Ask for forgiveness later, but he did what he was supposed. He did what he thought was the best to get a jump, but he did. But this time he'll do what they say, and I'm sure he'll still be in good shape going down to turn 1.
Jake Query, looks like you've got a clean racetrack. No safety vehicles down there in turn number 3.
Indeed, they got everybody all hitched up and cleaned, and the car, of course, it took them a while to get that car up onto the trailer, but once they did, they had to bring it around this very long course. So everybody now bunched up behind the pace car, working their way around Pioneer Park, starting to warm up those tires just a little bit and just get that last amount of heat perhaps in them for this final dash, and what we hope is a final dash under green here, Nick, as you had mentioned, kind of right now up against the clock, if you will, and we'll see whether or not they finish this one on laps or on time.
Dave, first, you can see the field now coming out of turn number 9. You picked out a yacht for yourself there. You had a birthday yesterday.
Yeah, I was going to say, I apologize. I've been daydreaming the last 5 minutes or so about what it would take to own one of those beautiful multi-million-dollar yachts. And as mentioned in a pre-race, one of those belonged to IndyCar owner Roger Penske. Brought a new boat here this weekend. Undoubtedly, everyone in the yacht club enjoying this day here at St. Pete.
Appreciate it, Dave. First, field accelerating now through turn number 10. Through turn 14. Colton Herta locked up the right front just a bit, but he'll jump on that accelerator. Green flag back in the air here at St. Petersburg. It's Herta, Urrutia, Kaiser. Kaiser's going to have his hands full with Pato O'Ward. Herta locks him up big time into turn number 1. That's going to allow Santi Urrutia to get a bit of a run. Jake Query closes within a car length or 2 as they snake their way into turn number 3.
Urrutia now tries to work towards the inside as they scream out of turn number 3. Kaiser has his hands full from O'Ward, and then it's Telix running in the 5th position. Colton Herta about a 2-car length advantage. They work their way out of turn number 5.
They'll now make their way through Pioneer Park, around that beautiful park here around St. Petersburg. Again, Colton Herta has the lead, but it is a 5-car train. Then you got a 6-car train behind him being led by Matthias Lace. So, Dave, 2 separate groups of cars coming at you out of turn number 9.
Santi Urrutia takes a peek as Herta locks up the brakes. No movement there. Will that mean that Santi Urrutia has any room? Nope, no momentum there. He's still in second. Herta continues to lead here at St. Pete.
But, Davey, he could be close enough this time out of turn 14 for the push to pass. But, heck, there's about 4 guys that I think are going to be leaning on the button.
The top 5 guys have push to pass availabilities if they come down this front straightaway. We'll see if any of them use it. Looks like maybe O'Ward maybe use it. Looks maybe like Urrutia did.
Urrutia is going to jump to the outside. They're going to go side by side for second. Now Pato O'Ward slips to the inside. He'll muscle that Juncos machine out of the way of Kyle Kaiser. So move Pato O'Ward up into the 3rd spot, Jake Query.
And Herta still has his hands full from Santi Urrutia. Urrutia right behind him right now. I get the feeling that he might just be waiting in pounds, but O'Ward is right there as well. So Urrutia, of course, wants to focus on Colton Herta. He's got to hold on to that 2nd spot because all of a sudden now he's got company in the form of that bright yellow machine of Pato O'Ward. Colton Herta now about a 2-car length advantage. Dave, first, as they come to you, O'Ward is trying to reel in Santi Urrutia for second.
The Patience Award goes to Aaron Telitz. He's watching all these 4 cars in front of him, hoping that someone makes a mistake. Not through turn 10, though. Herta, Urrutia, Award, Kaiser, Thielitz, the top 5.
Davey, we're seeing brake smoke all over this racetrack. These guys are locking up these tires left and right.
Yeah, and I noticed the 2 yellow cars, the Pelfrey cars, seem to really be smoking their brakes a lot as well. Obviously the same bias, same setup, but they can adjust. They have brake bias in there. They can adjust that out just a little bit, but they definitely have some front brake lockup for sure.
Pato Award thought about looking to the inside. He'll try the outside. Santi Urrutia is going to shove him out of the way, up over the curbing at the exit of turn number 2. But Pato Award, Jake, is right on that rear wing. Now Urrutia extends it out of turn number 3.
Boy, I'll tell you, Davey put the old hex on it right there, I think, on those Pelfrey cars, because as Award had that struggle with Urrutia further back, his teammate Juan Pedrahita had some battles as well and dropped a couple of spots. The leader is Colton Herta right now around Pioneer Park. He has himself about a 5-car length advantage before Santi Urrutia, then Award, and then Kyle Kaiser.
Herta doesn't mind seeing all that behind him, especially with Urrutia dealing with Award, although this time by, it looks like Urrutia made up a couple of car lengths, so put him 4 car lengths behind Colton Herta.
Further back, we've got a lot of battling. Matthias Leist is trying to hold on to that 7th position, and he's got the number 31 car of Nico De Pero all over the rear wing. Juan Pedrahita's right there, as is the 48 car of Ryan Norman. Leist is going to run a little wide. That's going to allow De Pero to get a good run on the inside, and they'll drag race down the front straightaway. This is, again, a battle for the 7th position. They may go 3 wide, Davey Hamilton. Here comes Juan Pedrahita. He's going to pass 2 of them. He'll take both of the cars, and then he'll lose all 3 of those spots possibly as Ryan Norman slips through. So, Jake Query, you've got a slew of cars roaring out of turn number 3, led by Nico De Pero.
And I'll tell you another battle I want to peek in on. That's the battle for 4th. Kyle Kaiser currently holds it, and Thielitz, yesterday's winner, running in 5th, has significantly closed that gap. So you've got the front 3 right now that have themselves about a 15-car length advantage on Kyle Kaiser, but Dave, Kaiser's got yesterday's winner right in his heels.
Urrutia remains in 2nd. Then you go 3 or 4 car lengths back to Award. Let's call it 6 car lengths back to Kaiser. Aaron Thielitz, yep, he's on the charge here in St. Pete.
11 minutes to go in this race number 2 as Dalton Kellett slips around Matthias Leist and moves up another spot. So Kellett, who had an incident that brought in a full course caution, had to get a new front wing. He's on the charge and has moved up a spot. Actually, it fell a couple laps down, so he's just trying to charge through that field and hope for some action throughout the field. But Davey Hamilton, since we've gone green here, you can tell these guys turned up the wick. They turned it to 11 because we're seeing a lot of good racing.
Well, and right now we look at lap times. Colton Herta is still the fastest lap at a 108.28, and then the next one is Urrutia, a guy right behind him at a 3.5, and actually Award has a 3.2. So they're still within a tenth, not even a tenth of a second. So times are dropping and staying there.
Colton Herta slides his way out of Pioneer Park, now sets up for turn number 9. Dave First, that white and blue car still looking strong in the lead.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, he is so smooth as he works his way through turn 10. I have the opportunity to kind of look down inside the cockpit, and Ryan Hunter-Reay a year ago on the radio was talking about sometimes you drive it on these street courses and it's like swatting flies inside the cockpit. You really got to work the steering wheel left and right to keep it pointed in the right direction. Not the case for Colton Herta. He's 16 years old, but man, is he smooth inside that cockpit.
9 minutes and 40 seconds to go in race number 2 for the Indy Lights Series. Let's get an update from pit lane with Joel Sebastianelli.
Well, as you guys mentioned, Colton Herta just put down a fast lap, and he needs to keep doing that. Don't forget, with the new push-to-pass rules this year, you can't use that defensively. The consensus from the drivers that I talked to this morning is that if you start mid-pack or in the back of the pack, it's great to have working through the field, but if you're up front, you dread it because there's nothing you can do but block with the race car and hope that you're just putting down fast enough times to not let the driver behind you get within 1 second.
Davey, the way the system's set up, you're kind of a sitting duck out front unless you're as strong as Aaron Thielitz was yesterday and as strong as Colton Herta's been today. Get yourself a gap, you're still going to be a handful.
That's the key. And right now, 1.2 second gap, so Herta's looking good because Urrutia can't use it. It's not there for him to use. So it's an interesting concept of how this push-to-pass works, and you know, whether it's fair or not fair, it's exciting to see how these guys use it.
Again, this is the Indy Lights Series presented by Cooper Tires. One step below the Verizon IndyCar Series. What's at stake in this championship? a scholarship to compete in the Indianapolis 500 and at least 3 other races in the Verizon IndyCar Series. We have seen some of the greatest IndyCar talent here in the last decade. This is where they get their start. This is where they cut their teeth in the Indy Lights Series. And certainly these drivers that you're watching and listening to are going to be the future stars of the Verizon IndyCar Series. Colton Herta is your leader now with 8 minutes to go here on the streets of St. Petersburg. Santi Urrutia runs in the second position. Pato Award just about 5 or 6 car lengths back in third. Kyle Kaiser runs in fourth. Aaron Telitz, yesterday's winner, is fifth. Shelby Blackstock is sixth. Zachary Clayman DeMello runs in seventh. Nico DePero is eighth. Ryan Norman and Juan Pedrohita run ninth and 10th. In 11th is Matthias Laced. 12th is Dalton Kellett, 1 lap down. Garth Rickards is out of the race in 13th. Nico Jamin is out of the race in 14th. And Neil Alberico out of the race for an opening lap crash in 15th. Out of turn number 14, leaders come once again. David, that advantage for Herta still at about a second and a half.
Yeah, just keeps moving it up. So right now he's safe with no pressure behind him with only 7 laps to go. And maybe I think they'll get this thing finished. Time and laps are going to be real close to each other, but hopefully they get the 45 laps in. And right now there's no pressure on him at all.
Jake Query, Colton Herta, the leader out of turn number 3.
Colton Herta is 3 weeks from his 17th birthday. Santi Urrutia, the driver, trying to reel him in. Last year won 4 races in this series. Quite the disparity in terms of their experience for this opening weekend in St. Petersburg. But Colton Herta has yet really to put a tire in the wrong spot. Urrutia had closed in that gap. But now, Dave, it appears as though Colton Herta is getting himself some breathing room.
Colton really checked out that last time around. I'm going to call it 12 car lengths between he and Santi Urrutia. If you're Aaron Telitz, yesterday's winner, you got to be thinking to yourself, was that last restart the last shot he had at moving up? It's a Herta, Urrutia, Award, Kaiser, and then Aaron Telitz at top 5. Really, no one's making a play for any positions right now.
And David, you're right. It looks like that time and the laps going to match up close enough that we're going to go ahead and run the full 45. So with just 6 laps to go, Colton Herta trying to hold on and score career win number 1 in just his second race in the Indy Lights Series. And what a story that's going to be, Davey. 7 veterans made up of the 7 veterans, 8 rookies in this 15-car field, and potentially we're going to have 2 first-timers go to victory lane. Telitz yesterday and maybe Herta today.
That tell you the talent. There's some talent in this series right now, and that's great. And Rookie of the Year in this particular division is going to be outstanding to see who gets that because there's so many great race drivers.
Rookie of the Year more times than not ends up being the champion because those drivers that strap into these race cars are really so strong right out off the truck.
Exactly right. And Telitz, even though a good run, but back when you start behind guys and you're in the traffic and it's a track that's hard to pass on, as dominant as he was yesterday. If he started on the pole, he could be dominating again today. Who knows? But qualifying is so important, and then he'll learn that for sure.
And Rob Howden, we kind of talked about, and we followed this Aaron Telitz storyline throughout the course of the weekend. They kind of gave up a little bit in qualifying the second session because they knew how good they were going to be in race 1. He started 10th, still doing a great job up to 5th.
Yeah, one of the big things about Aaron Telitz and the Velarde Auto Racing team is they decided to hold on to a set of tires during that second qualifying session. They decided not to put on fresh Coopers. They wanted to hold that set to the first race. They had him on pole position. They wanted to give him every chance he could to get out and win, and he did exactly that. That strategy paid off. Every other driver having to start both races on scuffed tires. Obviously, they used those stickers to their full effect in race number 1. I think Telitz has done a great job here to work his way back up to 5th. And we talk about the championship chase and heading all the way to Watkins Glen in September. Last year it was Felix Sorrellis and Felix Rosenquist on the podium for these races, the race winners here in St. Petersburg. Neither of those 2 drivers were in the championship hunt. You do not need to win here to be in the championship, but man, it's a really good way to kick things off. And one last point before we let this thing go to green. You talk about the Mazda Road to Indy. 4 of the top 5 drivers on the racetrack right now with pro Mazda race wins, Nick. The only one, Colton Herta, obviously ran in Europe, ran in the USF 2000 to get things underway, but he's looking to grab his first ever Mazda Road to Indy win.
Experience is, even for guys that are, 16 to 24 years old, that experience certainly matters, and especially at a street course race, Davey, because all of these street course events are so much different than some of the ovals that these drivers are going to see.
Yeah, the permanent courses and the ovals, they're permanent race courses that are smoother. There's more room for forgiveness on almost all of them. But, yeah, when you're on these street courses, you're bouncing around. And we see guys make the smallest of mistakes, and, man, you're in the wall in no time flat.
Oh, and then we threw an extra curveball at him by kind of manipulating turn 3 and changing
making that
up.
one even more difficult.
So even if you have experience and ran here in the past, it was still a brand new racetrack for a lot of these guys.
Well, and I heard that in the Indy cars actually got through turn 3 pretty good, but it was these lower divisions, these cars, the road to Indy cars, that were bottoming out and shooting them into the wall. So that's why they put the curbing up there, but I don't know if it really saves them or not. We've just seen a lot of guys plow that wall in turn 3, and so I don't know if it was a good or bad move, but hopefully they'll get that fixed. I would like to see them take that away, to be honest with you, and then give us another passing zone down in turn 4.
3 laps to go, Jake Query. Colton Herta, we've noticed throughout the course of the weekend, kind of sounds like his dad. Well, he's driving like the old man today. He's in the lead out of turn number 3 with 3 to go.
Brian Herta, street course precision, one of the things he was known for. Appears as though that apple didn't fall far from the tree, because Colton Herta is starting to put this one away. He had done so really up until the point when they had that restart, and then on the restart had to hold off the challenge of that Uruguayan behind him, Santi Urrutia. But now Colton Herta, as he works his way towards turn number 10, Dave, his gap seems to be growing with each and every lap.
Inch by inch, this thing, the gap between he and Santi Urrutia continues to grow here, and further back, obviously, with Pato Award and then the 18 of Kyle Kaiser. You bring up Brian Herta. Remember, he's the 1993 Indy Lights champion. And undoubtedly, whenever Brian comes back to St. Petersburg, Florida, he reminisces about that 1, 2, 3, 4 finish that Andretti Autosports had when Dan Weldon won in that first trip back for the IndyCar series. So a lot of great memories here for St. Pete for Brian Herta. And guess what? It appears he's going to make another one here today.
Davey, this is a family sport. We've seen it whether it be with the Andrettis or the RAHALs, the Hertas, even the Hamiltons, with your son Davey Jr. in racing as well. This is going to be a big storyline, and this is going to be a one to watch, Colton Herta, because he's not just a name. We've seen it through it a lot the last few years, whether it be racing overseas or in USF 2000. Very talented young man, and boy, he has put together a perfect race today here in St. Pete.
He sure has, and he's put the work and all the effort that goes into it. The people don't understand the sacrifices, even at his age, that you have to do to become a racing driver. And, man, he's done it all absolutely the right way and proper, and jumps in one of these Indy Lights cars and shows like a true veteran, really. So hats off to him. And with one, they're going to be coming down right now for the white flag. Got one more lap to go, and he's going to bring home the checkered.
Not just a family sport in racing, but it is in baseball as well, as the Steinbrenners, George Michael IV has gotten involved, partnering up with Michael Andretti to put Colton Herta in this car. He sees the white flag, makes that right-hander of turn number 1, back to the left-hander of turn number 2. Jake Query, bring Colton Herta home for the final time out of turn number 3.
At 16 years old, I was hoping to master parallel parking. Colton Herta now still yet to reach the tender age of 17 and running in just his second race here in the Indy Lights presented by Cooper Tires. Fires that Mazda engine all the way around Pioneer Park. He still has Santi Urrutia safely behind him, about 10 car lengths or so. Colton Herta takes that turn number 9. Coming at you, Dave, first for the final time.
Chubby Checkers making an appearance at the Mahaffey Theater in a couple of weeks, March 23rd. Not sure if Colton likes the classics, but undoubtedly he likes the twist to his career. After a couple years overseas, he's back in the States and making a name for himself once again. Colton Herta here in St. Petersburg.
Out of turn 14, we may have a future superstar on our hands. Second-generation driver Colton Herta across the start-finish line. He'll see the checkered flag, and he will take that Andretti Steinbrenner Mazda to victory lane here at St. Petersburg in race number 2. Santi Urrutia grabs the second position. Pato Award comes home third. Kyle Kaiser is fourth. Yesterday's winner, Aaron Telitz, with a nice points day. He finishes fifth. Shelby Blackstock finishes sixth. Zachary Clay-Mello seventh. Nico DePero eighth. Ryan Norman ninth. And Juan Pedrohita rounds out the top 10. And Colton Herta going to make his way to victory lane. And Rob Howden, I imagine the first guy that's going to greet him is good old Dad. Very proud Brian Herta standing by on pit lane.
All right, Brian, put on the dad hat. How was that?
I've had it on ever since our warm-up ended with the 27 IndyCar, but so proud of him. Just, you know, he's doing a great job. I don't even have the words.
You and I talked about the fact that what he got yesterday was some respect in the paddock, showed the maturity, the poise on the racetrack. That must make you unbelievably proud.
I'm so proud of him. I'm so proud of all our kids, and to see him out doing what he loves and doing it so well. It's really something.
Let's head to victory lane.
Thanks.
Hey, Nick, we got tears in the eyes of Brian Herter right now. What an amazing moment. Such a proud dad, and he'll be down to victory lane to say hello and congratulations to his young son.
And Brian, Davey, Brian's a very emotional guy. We've seen him after he's won the Indy 500 with Dan Weldon, last year with Alexander Rossi, in just an unthinkable, unimaginable way. He's an emotional guy. He does not hide it, and that's what a big moment for him and for his son, Colton.
Yeah, great times. I mean, this is the first. These don't come very often, and they'll take advantage of this because Colton's going to win many more, and they're going to get used to this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But the first time for Brian being here and the Indy Lights and being part of the Andretti program, it's just a storybook.
An impressive young man and an impressive drive today as Colton Herta picks up the win here in Indy Lights. Again, as race number 2 goes to Herta, race 1 goes to Aaron Telitz, and certainly going to be a lot of excitement down there in pit lane. You see George Michael Steinbrenner. He reaches in, taps the helmet, shakes the hand of Colton Herta. George Michael Steinbrenner's only in his 20s as well, so that's a partnership and a friendship that has started between those two that certainly could pay off big time. And the Cooper Tire girls there in victory lane, as well as, again, the Cooper Tires, the Mazda engines of these race cars, Davey. Again, not disappointing, putting on a good show.
Yeah, great show. I mean, the cars are just, Delara built such a great car, and Anderson Promotions, who puts this series on, they all do, it just shows. I mean, this is the road to Indy, and such a great format and opportunities for these guys, and they have all the right partners to make it happen.
So here's how the finishing order ended up. Colton Herta is your winner here at St. Petersburg. Santi Urrutia, a great bounce back from yesterday, as he had a really rough day, finishing 13th. He finishes second today. Pato Award is third. Kyle Kaiser fourth. Aaron Telitz fifth. Shelby Blackstock sixth. Zachary Clay-Manamello seventh. Nico DePero eighth. Ryan Norman ninth. Juan Pedrojita 10th. Matthias Laced finishes 11th. Dalton Kellett 12th. Garth Ricards is 13th, Nico Jimin 14th, and Neil Alberico 15th. Let's hear from the Uruguayan sophomore Santi Urrutia. Joel Sebastianelli, he comes home in second.
Well, a 13th place finish yesterday, a fantastic bounce back today for you, Santi. Started second, finished second. How important was it today to get that result?
Oh, yeah, it was really good for the championship. Yesterday I got hit on the start by KELLETT, so, yeah, we lost a lot of points. But it was great, today coming with second, good points, and now we just want to keep on this way.
Last year, you were in the running for the championship going into that final race. Has there been a mindset change for your second year in Indy Lights?
Well, I mean, I have the same goal, that is win the championship. All the team is working for the same thing. We had great cars all the weekend. Aaron won yesterday, and I finished on the podium today, so yeah. As a team, we're working really good. This is a long way, just the first weekend, so we need to stay on podium, stay on the points, and it's going to be fine.
All right, congratulations, Santi.
Thank you very much.
Rob Howden is with a first-timer in victory lane.
Colton Herta, 7 years ago, I interviewed you after a tag cadet win at the SCUSA Spring Nationals in Sonoma. We fast forward here, and you're now an Indy Lights race winner. You were 10 years old at that point. You're 16 now. Give me your thoughts.
Oh, it's amazing to come back from Europe and into the IndyCar paddock and be winning right away. It's a good start, and we're going to keep it rolling.
You really had to show it up here today because they had a couple of restarts. They were pushing you really hard. Talk about those restarts and your thought on trying to hold back last year's vice champion.
Oh, yeah, for sure. He's probably the toughest person out here right now because most of us are rookies, and he knows the tires, he knows the car when it's all cold. So for sure it was hard to hold him off, but we ended up doing it and had a little bit of a gap at the end, so all good.
Thoughts on those last couple of laps?
Oh, man. I think everybody was just pushing hard. I think I was pushing harder than I was in qualifying, like white walling it everywhere. Oh, yeah, my heart rate's up right now.
And congratulations on a great weekend.
Thank you.
I'll tell you, an unbelievable run. Second place yesterday, Joel. First place today for Colton Herta. What a solid drive for him.
Absolutely, and a great drive for Pato O'Ward. Third place, Pato. This ride just got put together a little more than a week ago. Did this exceed your expectations this weekend?
No, not really. I mean, I really wanted to come up with great results. We went on practice one, and we were on top of the chart, so I knew we had a fast car, and I just had to put it together. Unfortunately, qualifying one, I had a secured second place, and and trying to get that pole, I shoved the car into the wall in turn 8, so that made me cause a red flag. And then if you cause a red flag, you get your fastest lap removed. I didn't have a backup because there was so many red flags in the session, so that was basically my second flyer. So that put us 9th. Started 9th yesterday, ended 5th, and today qualified 4th. And at the beginning of the race, it was pretty crazy, and I went all the way to 6, I think, 6 or 7. And I said, no, I need to get back up there. So I made a few passes and succeeded, and we ended 2nd. So I'm really pleased.
So last year in Pro Mazda, you started on fire. 6 of the first 7 races you won, but Indy Lights is an entirely different animal. So how was the transition from your perspective?
I think it suits my driving style. I really like the car. It's a lot faster and a lot more downforce than the Mazda. It's definitely a really big step. But I think I got into rhythm quite quick. I only had 2 test days before this race weekend, so getting a 5th and a 3rd and being runner-up in times and everything, I think that's a pretty good weekend.
And I know you're working hard to get into this car or an Indy Lights car, period, full time. You think that this puts you in a good position to do that now?
Yeah, I think we can have a few talks and hopefully we get some support for the rest of the season. But I'm optimistic that we can continue.
All right, congratulations, Pato Award, 3rd place in race number 2 for Indy Lights at St. Pete.
It's a pretty impressive podium. Pato Award, again, really hopeful, Davey, that we can see him back in a race car. For Santi Urrutia coming back after losing the championship, a good 2nd place run. And then again, the sky is the limit for Colton Herta because that young man, just 16 years old, going to turn 17 the next time we see him. But boy, such an impressive run today.
Great run today. And look how young these kids are up front, too, right? I mean, it's the next generation of IndyCar racers. We know that. It's just who can make it, who can't. These guys all have such great talent, and hats off to these teams for giving them the opportunities to come over here and run this road to Indy. But Colton Herta's day today for sure.
We'll see you back here at noon for the IndyCar race.
We'll be back.
Great job by Davey Hamilton, and great job on pit lane by Joel Sebastianelli and Rob Howden. Out on the course, Dave First and Jake Query. As for the Indy Lights schedule, got a little bit of a break. Again, this is the opening weekend for Indy Lights. We will not see them again until April 21st through 23rd. That is the Birmingham, Alabama weekend where they will have a doubleheader. So the Indy Lights series kick off the season here in St. Pete. They're going to have about a month to kind of stew on the results if the weekend didn't go the way you wanted, or bask in the glory if you're Aaron Telitz and Colton Herta, who picked up career wins number 1. Coming up on the Advanced Auto Parts IndyCar Radio Network, just one show to go, and it is the main event. It is the Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg. Coverage comes live to you across the network at noon local time here in St. Petersburg, Florida. Again, we'll talk to you then. And that wraps up Indy Lights action here from St. Pete.
IndyCar Radio on the IMS Radio Network.
Let's pick him up, boys, in the backstretch. Bernie Herman, you should be seeing him about now.
We're waiting for the quiet, unassuming Jim Rathbun in the Canfall Special. And here he comes now in car number 4. Bias goes Jim Rathbun. Okay, Sid.
Pick up Blue Palmer in the northeast turn and follow it around, boys.
We've got him. The crowd knows Rathbun's coming by, and he's got no competition. 2 more turns. He's made one of them. There's only 1 turn remaining. Number 4 for Jim Rathbun. Goes into the short chute now. Here comes Roger Ward at the moment. Over to Jim Shelton.
All right, Jim Rathbun just kind of taking it easy here. Boy, I don't know what happened. Roger Ward is really biting fingernails if he could. And here he comes now. He's dropping back considerably. Okay.
Here's the checkered flag for Jim Rathbun, the winner of the 44th annual 500-mile race.
Stay tuned for more on IndyCar Radio.
Sam Hornish Jr. trying to get the advantage on Herta. They are dead even. Now Hornish starts to pull in front. They set up for turn number 4. Mike, who's going to win it? It's a near carbon copy of last year's race. Herta will go to the high side to 3 wide. The line, it will be Sam Hornish Jr.
is IndyCar Radio on the IMS Radio Network.
About 4 seconds is the lead time that he has. Can it hang together for another couple of miles? Oh, this is going to be great finish for Jacques Villeneuve into the number 2 turn.
And Villeneuve smoothly through 2, well off the wall, keeping a fine line down the back straightaway. Larry Henry.
Jacques Villeneuve bringing it down the back straightaway. No traffic in front of him. Plainly down to the white line. The crowd on their feet cheering Jacques Villeneuve. One more turn to go.
Jacques Villeneuve's crew, they won the pit stop competition, but this is even better. Through 4 smoothly. Jacques Villeneuve heads to the checkered flag, and here's Bob Jenkins.
The checkered flag is waving, and Jacques Villeneuve wins the 1995 Indianapolis 500. The youngest driver in the field at 24 years of age has won at Indianapolis.
The Verizon IndyCar Series on IndyCar Radio. IndyCar Radio on the IMS Radio Network.
Here we are in victory lane for the glorious phase of this most spectacular finish of the 500-mile automobile race. And the pit crew and the men are gathering around Jim Rathman here. And Jim has a big ice-cold bottle of milk, and let's talk with him. Just a minute, Jim. Leave it on. The pit crew is really gathering around him, and Julie Pratt, the queen of the 500 Festival, has put the garland of flowers around his neck. And just a minute, he's going to have another drink of that ice-cold milk. Jim? Just a minute, here we are, Jim, right over here. Jim, how do you feel after that most spectacular finish?
Pretty good. What happened to Ward?
You ran out of gas. You and Roger really put on a spectacular finish today, Jim. What do you got to say?
Stay tuned for more on IndyCar Radio. This is the Verizon IndyCar Series on the Advance Auto Parts IndyCar Radio Network.
A.J. Foyt down the main straightaway. The checkered flag is out. A.J.'s hand in the air. He is the winner. A.J. Foyt at Indianapolis has won his 4th 500-mile race. A.J. Foyt, our winner. The flag will fly now for Tom Sneva and then for Al Unser. We will be talking with all of these drivers in just a moment. Lou Palmer is in victory lane as A.J. Foyt takes now his victory lap around the 2.5 miles of Indianapolis. A record-breaking end to a record-breaking month. A.J. Foyt, the 4th win at Indianapolis. A month that saw the 200-mile-an-hour barrier broken, not just in the practice where it is unofficial, but in the qualifying by Tom Sneva, our second-place car at the moment. And then, too, the first woman to enter, to qualify, and to compete in a 500-mile race, Janet Guthrie of New York City. But for the moment, the name is A.J. Voigt of Houston, Texas. The car is his, a Coyote. The engine is his, a Voigt V8. And happiness, fame, and fortune are his too. He is the winner of the 61st running of the Indianapolis 500. Pat Sedan continues to display the checkered flag to the 11 other cars running on the race course at the moment. They hand him now the red flag. He will use that in just minutes to stop the race, to bring the cars into the pits. The 500-mile race is complete. The checkered flag and the red flag are waved together. And the checkered flag was displayed first here for A.J. Voigt. He is now on the pit lane.
Now, of course, the Mazda Road to Indy is a very unique ladder system designed to take drivers out of the go-karting ranks, move them up the ladder, and spit them out eventually one day in the Verizon IndyCar Series. Stingray, Rob, getting a bit of cheering on here from the Cooper Tires folks. Stingray, other than how cool your name is, why should people keep an eye on the World Speed Motorsport car, and why should they be cheering you on this season?
You know, I'm up to excite different fans, and hopefully, you know, being a go-kart, I can throw a few cool moves in there.
I expect him to excite a lot of fans here in Pro Mazda race number 2. Again, it's the Allied Building Products Grand Prix of St. Petersburg. It's the final time Mazda Road to Indy will be on the track this weekend. We're getting ready to go back upstairs. Be sure to tune into Road to Indy TV all season long.
Thank you, Tony Laporta. Getting ready to roll. Stingray Rob in the cockpit of his racing machine as we get ready to go racing here. The final race of the race weekend, the Pro Mazdas, presented by Cooper Tires. Joining us in the public address booth, the voice of this Pro Mazda series, Rob Howden. Whew, what a weekend it has been. And we think to ourselves, man, what a great weekend. And we still got one race left, and from any indications of what we've seen before, this potentially could be a barn burner.
It really has been a fantastic weekend for the start of the Mazda Road to Indy, presented by Cooper Tires. Bunch of new winners. Some rookies stepped up and won races. The Mazda scholarship drivers, those Soul Red cars, found themselves to victory lane as well. And again, as you said, just 2 minutes away to the call to fire up these Pro Mazdas to wrap it up. And I'm expecting a good race here. We got a couple really strong drivers looking at a championship in this category.
And we have just a testament to this program and the Road to Indy. We had, of 4 races, we've had 3 championship or scholarship winners win. That says so much.
It does. The drivers moving their way up the ranks, obviously with the support of Mazda. That's the biggest thing about this program, the scholarships that put the champion into the next level. We saw Oliver Askew had won the $200,000 shootout at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca last year. What a debut it was for him. He rolls in and wins in USF 2000. Anthony Martin, already a winner in Pro Mazda. He's going to try to do it again here today. And then Aaron Tielet's a huge win for Bilardi Auto Racing, last year's Pro Mazda champion. And the storylines in Indy Lights are absolutely unbelievable. You got 16-year-old Colton Herta. You got Aaron Tielet's. You've got all these fantastic drivers. Santi Urrutia trying to come back to win a championship. It's going to be a fantastic year in that category. We're getting set to go here as we're just about 1 minute away, folks, from firing things up.
Victor Franzoni looks ready to go.
Yeah.
He was excited.
We'll go through the grid once we send it down to pit lane. We are very close to getting things fired up and lighting up these Mazda Renesas power plants, rotary power. Of course, Mazda in the cars at all 3 levels of the Mazda Road to Indy, presented by Cooper Tires. Brittany Schoenberg, one of our guests at Allied Building Products, is going to be our honorary starter. She's waiting down on pit lane to get these drivers and give them the call that they are looking for to fire things up. Michael, you like to call it the most famous words in racing.
Indeed.
I love to hear it.
Am I doing it?
Do you want to do it?
I've never done it before.
For Pro Mazda?
I've never done it in my whole entire life.
I think you do it every Verizon IndyCar weekend. How about you?
I just say that. Who's giving the command?
It's Brittany Schoenberg.
Okay. And now for those most famous words in motorsports, here's Brittany Schoenberg to give the command.
On behalf of everyone at Allied Building Products, drivers, start your Mazda engines.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen.
Brittany was good.
She was good, so were you.
Very, very good.
Pro Mazda, the call getting sent down by one of the iconic voices of the Verizon IndyCar Series, Michael Young.
Let's not get carried away.
You'll hear him week in and week out when on the road.
As Sebastien Bourdais said when I said, boy, this could be a championship contending team, he goes, let's not get carried away. Just one win.
Thank you so much, Michael. Let's have a look at this field, guys. We have 14 Pro Mazda drivers who are ready to put a cap on what has been an amazing weekend here in St. Petersburg. Michael, we were thinking about potential for rain. It holds off. What a day it's been. We've had some great racing in Indy Lights, in the Verizon IndyCar Series race. As you said, what a huge win for Bourdais. Let's cap it off here with Pro Mazda.
And ignorance is bliss. I didn't even know we were supposed to get rain today. I thought, man, it's going to be a great day. It's been overcast. It's been beautiful. I still got sunburned, and I don't even know where the sun came from. So the fact that the rain held off and we had just a picture-perfect weekend, it can't be enough said about the city of St. Petersburg as the field rolls away.
Great start to the 2017 season, but one more race, as I said, to put the cap on this weekend. Charles Finelli and Max Hanratty will start on row number 7. Finelli in the number 83. Hanratty in the number 6. Moving forward to row number 6. On the outside, the black Quick Lube number 44 for Kevin Davis, and those familiar Uncos Racing green and white colors for Jeff Green. Row 5, inside the top 10 now, Brendan Puderbach and Matt Machiko for Fat Boy Racing. Both drivers, their debut weekend here in the Pro Mazda Championship presented by Cooper Tires. Into row number 4, a driver we've seen get better and better throughout the years. Third year in this program, Bobby Eberle in the Title Boxing Club. World Speed Motorsports number 13. He'll start 8th alongside his young teammate, the driver that Tony Laporta talked to on pit lane, a young kid I've had the privilege of watching come through karting over the last number of years. Stingray Robb out of Idaho in the number 14. Row number 3, it will be Nikita Listoshkin and Philippe Dennis. Listoshkin for Team Pelfrey, Dennis for World Speed Motorsports. Into row number 2 is the drivers working their way out here to the 11, 12, 13 complex. All Team Pelfrey, the yellow and black cars of TJ Fisher in the 82 and Carlos Cunha in the 81. And in the front row, 2 drivers we expect to go at it here. They did it in USF 2000 as well. Both race winners last year in USF 2000. Victor Franzoni on the outside in the number 23 for Uncos Racing, and already a winner this year in the Mazda Soul Red colors, the USF 2000 champion from 2016. Anthony Martin in the number 8. Drivers 2 by 2 working their way out here as we get set to go. Green, green, green. Racing in Pro Mazda.
Anthony Martin, nice look to the inside as Victor Franzoni settles in right behind him. Also, the machine of T.J. Fisher works his way to the inside. Cleanly through turn number 1 they go to turn number 2 now. Anthony Martin, then it's Victor Franzoni machine. Actually, Carlos Cunha sits P3.
One of our guests from Allied Building Products up in the tower there to throw the green flag. That was Anthony Evans. Great place to see the race on top of the flag stand. And we are underway, as Michael had said. Drivers settling into the battle here now. You see the 3 Team Pelfrey drivers sitting 3rd, 4th, and 5th. They're starting to put some pressure on Victor Franzoni. We had one driver come into pit lane immediately down, and that was Matt Machiko. Not sure if he stopped on pit lane or continued on through. It looks like Machiko might have kept going, but he pulled into pit lane as we came around to get the green flag. First time down the back straightaway here into turn number 9, the 9 kink into turn number 10. Everybody good so far, coming through what is a very tough corner. Martin now leads. Anthony Martin looking to go back-to-back jacks here at St. Petersburg. He was the champion last year in USF 2000. But, Michael, look at him stacking it up right here. I like it. It's Martin and then Franzoni. And I want to say that's going to be T.J. Fisher in the 81. No, that's Carlos Cunha. Cunha, the Brazilian F3 driver. 17 years of age. Diced it up. And now there's your international field there as well. Martin from Australia. Franzoni, the Brazilian, another Brazilian in Cunha, the American Fisher, the Russian is Nikita Listoshkin. Then you got some American drivers, and Dennis, Robb, Eberle, and Hanratty.
Well, yesterday it was Anthony Martin, and right out of the gate he started to pull away. Victor Franzoni kept pace, and the Pelfrey cars, Fisher and Cunha, able to kind of mind the gap. About 8 seconds back after they fell back, they were able to keep the pace. Today, a completely different story. Carlos Cunha running in 3rd. T.J. Fisher, who finished 3rd yesterday, is running 4th. Anthony Martin and Victor Franzoni, but they are bunched up as they come down at turn number 10.
The story about Franzoni, actually super interesting. Here's a kid last week that tested a USF 2000 car at the spring training event in Homestead. He thought he was going USF 2000 racing. Phone call comes while he's working on another young kid's go-kart while they're at New Orleans for a big Supercarts USA race. Says, hey, you want to come run Pro Mazda? Yeah, I'd like to do that. So they put a deal together. He hadn't sat in the race car until he got here this weekend. Now, he had maybe, let's say, a limited schedule, not even quite a half a season 2 years ago. He actually was at the Chris Griffiths test at Indy in November, or October rather, and then turns around and has a time to get behind the wheel here. Anthony Martin, was so much more seat time in the offseason. Got a lot of testing in with Cape Motorsports. Again, coming off that championship, he's got the Mazda scholarship, but he got a lot of testing in. Franzoni's going to get better, Michael, as this year comes along. He's really good at Barber Motorsports Park, where we go next. He'll just need some time to settle in.
Stingray Robb around Philippe Dennis that last time by. So move Robb to P6, Dennis down to P7. Anthony Martin last time by, just a half a second lead. So a bit different than yesterday. And these drivers started early in the morning yesterday. They wait all the way to the end of the race weekend for their second race. You know they've been chomping at the bit, and a much different complexity to this race than yesterday because the top three are right there together.
You know what? And even fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, not that far back either. That's Fisher, Listoshkin, Robb, and Dennis. And that's one of the things we're going to see here. We've got two really veteran drivers in Anthony Martin and Victor Franzoni. We're going to watch these younger drivers get better and better throughout the season. They're just kind of getting comfortable now. Stingray Robb having his best couple of laps that he's had the whole time. A 1:17.1 or the 1:16.1. He's only 0.3 of a second off the last being laid down by Anthony Martin.
Max Hanratty locking him up into turn number one. I'm sorry, Rob. Bobby Eberle was on the outside. Max Hanratty just dive bombed into turn number one, locked it up, unable to make the pass.
You got to give Bobby Eberle the props on the reaction time. Not bad for a 48-year-old. Give it up for him. Bobby's, what he's done is he's focused on his fitness. He's focused on his driving ability, big time on testing. But the biggest thing for him is he lost a bunch of weight, got in super shape, the best shape of his life, he said, even though he used to be a top 10 guy in Masters tennis.
And I didn't even recognize him. He was walking through the paddock area talking to a couple of teams, and I got behind him like, oh, that's Bobby Eberle.
Yeah.
I had no idea that was him.
Did a lot of working out last year, but
yep.
he hit the boxing ring this year and has really just upped his level of fitness. Local yellow in turn number 4 for the number 41 machine.
Kevin Davis around.
Kevin Davis in the 44 potentially. Look at this. Franzoni to within maybe 3 lengths as they work their way down the back straightaway.
So we start to settle in right now. We've got a 10-minute longer race than we had yesterday. Yesterday was 30 minutes. We got 25 laps in. Today we go another 10 minutes.
We do.
We talk about, and there goes the Davis machine by us right now. We talk about these drivers had to wait all day long. They saw everybody and their uncle out there racing. A different mindset, just a different look to this race because Anthony Martin dominated. Nikita Listoshkin fought back halfway through that race. Victor Franzoni was good, ran P2 most of the time, and both of those Team Pelfrey cars ran third and fourth, but they've really hung together, and I've been quite surprised this far that obviously the Pelfrey cars are good, but it just looked like that Kate Motorsports car and that Juncos car were just going to dominate. And they're right in the hunt for this race.
I think it really plays to the fact that the drivers like Carlos Cunha, Stingray Robb, they've never been here before. Anthony's been here for 2 years. He ran USF 2000 2 years ago, was Rookie of the Year, won the championship last year. Victor was in USF 2000 for 3 years. They've got lots of seat time here. Look at Carlos Cunha starting to work. All that extra time that he had, you may think it's a negative that he had all that extra time. It gave him a lot of opportunity to go over data and get a feel for the track and really look over video as well. Carlos Cunha now putting the pressure on Victor Franzoni right up under the rear wing coming through turn number 2.
Yeah, Franzoni took a dive down into turn number 1 to kind of let Anthony Martin know he was there, and Cunha took advantage of it, got right up on that rear wing, and I do believe it was a pewter bar machine that may have spun around.
It was actually the 31 at DePero, I think we're being told. We just got an update, I believe. DePero.
The pewter bar machine.
Oh, we were told DePero. All right, okay. So it is actually Puderbach.
Brendan
Martin,
around.
Franzoni, Cunha, Fisher, and Listoshkin. Hey, you know what? Carlos Cunha, he may go to second here. He is pushing in a big way to try to get by Franzoni. They'll work their way out of turn number 9 once again. This time, a little bit more of a gap. Now, Michael, again, it'll be the veteran drivers who likely will handle the tires as they start to go off a little bit here. The rookies are going to have to hold on. Look at this, though. I love the fact that Stingray Robb is starting to close on Listoshkin. Look at the lap last time by, a tenth quicker. So, indeed, as you did say, Brendan Puderbach, one of the Fat Boy Racing drivers, out of this race. No, actually back on track.
He's going to be lapped here soon, so that may play into it. If Victor Franzoni and Carlos Cuna hang back long enough, if Anthony Martin catches Puderbach at the wrong time, could help them make the complexity of this race completely different than yesterday.
We saw that at the end of the race yesterday, where some lap traffic kind of backed them all back up again. Franzoni had a good run to try to get up to him, although in the last couple of laps, as you said, Martin was able to clear through and then gained that gap again. But this will be an early lap car after Puderbach went around over, as we said, in turn number 4. Matt Machiko back on the racetrack. We talked about him coming through pit lane. He was able to continue on, but well down. Not sure what happened for Matt. He just rolled down pit lane.
Yeah, and Puderbach moves to the inside line at turn number 10, really stacks him up.
Yeah.
He tried to get out of the way, and Anthony Martin and Victor Franzoni clear, but allows the two Pelfrey cars to go neck and neck.
That was actually Charles Finelli and Puderbach both together trying to come through. They're all trying to get out of the way, and it has stacked it back up, as you said, Martin. And then it's that 23. I said the word DePero. Nicholas DePero, now Indy Lights. Franzoni driving DePero's car. Right. Exactly the same coloration as last year as well, that blue and yellow and white.
Well, Finelli must have had all kinds of problems because he wasn't even close to being in the same zip code as Puderbach, and they just punched together there at turn number 10, nearly causing havoc down there. But it has allowed those cars to bunch up, and TJ Fisher and Carlos Cuna neck and neck in those Team Pelfrey cars.
Looking at lap times, pretty consistent up front. 15.4s for Martin and Franzoni, an 8 for Cuna, a 5 for Fisher, a 7 for Listoshkin, and a 15.5 for Stingray Robb. Stingray Robb, his second ever race in the Pro Mazda, now running just a 10th off your leaders. Good little fight here. And again, we're going to see these guys get quicker and quicker. And Michael, we've extolled the virtues of being smart here at St. Petersburg.
Hey, you've got to use simpler words. I don't understand extol.
We've talked a lot about the fact
Thank you.
that it's of great benefit.
Thank you.
To stay out of trouble.
Yes, that
here
is
at
true.
St. Petersburg. Remember, the next race is Barber. You can go 4, 5, 8 wheels off. You can drive. There's a long way to the walls there.
No. Completely different story.
No.
Yeah, you could go lawn clipping out there at Barber Motorsports Park. They don't recommend that since it's a very manicured facility.
I believe they send you a bill if you go on to
they do
George Barber's grass.
Right.
Do not go on my grass.
Yeah, but a completely different race course, and for a lot of these drivers familiar with it, it's a lot easier to come in. But when you have those concrete walls and you don't sometimes know what's on the other side, especially if you're in the middle to the back of the pack, or if you're coming up on lap traffic and you see somebody potentially 20 car lengths ahead of you, then you're right on them at the next turn. You're like, what just happened? So it starts to spook you just a little bit.
Very true. And again, all we tell these kids is get in here, have a good weekend, and get out of St. Petersburg in one piece. Make sure you haven't had that damage. A lot of guys can't say that this weekend. There was a lot of carnage in USF 2000, but for the most part, it's been good here in Pro Mazda.
Nikita Listoshkin and Stingray Robb, a nice battle. That is for the 5th position.
I like it.
Robb closing in about 2 car lengths on the rear deck of Nikita Listoshkin up on that rear wing as they make their way out of turn number 14. It was 2 car lengths, now breaks out to 3. Nikita Listoshkin, Stingray Robb as they race down the front straightaway. Again, the battle for 5th position.
Victor Franzoni just a little quicker than Anthony Martin last time by. Less than a second separates first and second as Franzoni closes back up by a 10th. He's got Carlos Cuna right there. We will continue to watch this battle for 5th position between Nikita Listoshkin and Stingray Robb. Listoshkin, 2 years in the USF 2000 program. 2 years ago ran with Team Pelfrey. Last year with Cape Motorsports. Making the jump up here with Team Pelfrey into the Pro Mazda category. He currently runs P5. Very similar lap times with Listoshkin, Robb, and Dennis. In fact, Philippe Dennis in 7th, quicker than both 5th and 6th. This could end up being a 3-driver battle for the last position in the top 5.
Stingray Robb, 1 position better than he was yesterday. Finished 7th, currently running in 6th. Nikita Listoshkin finished 5th yesterday. So Stingray Robb, the biggest mover from yesterday to today, just a couple of positions, tried to make up ground on the Team Pelfrey driver, Nikita Listoshkin. And Carlos Cunha doing a great job keeping up with Victor Franzoni. They gapped themselves a little bit when they got into that lap traffic, and now Cunha closing back in. Nice job.
Yeah, actually, if you look at the speed, you want to say they're closing in, except for it's by 100th of a second each.
True.
That's not visible to the eye to a certain extent. A 1:14.44 for Martin, 1:14.43 for Franzoni, 1:14.42 for Cunha. They're separated by hundredths of a second on their fast laps. I believe that's Pooter back into pit lane again. I'm not sure. He looks like he's going to roll right down to his team. So, yeah, Brendan Puderbach bringing that number 31 Pro Mazda into pit lane. Been a rough day for him. Good fight here between Jeff Green and the number 44 of Kevin Davis. Here goes Jeff Green. He'll look to the inside to turn number 1. Book it. Jeff Green through to take over of the 10th position. So Green and Davis scrapping it out here. Looks like Matt Machiko coming back in. Rear wing damage, Michael.
Yeah, make contact somewhere.
Rear wing hanging on the back of that car. Looks like he hit the wall, yeah.
That's car number 3 and turn number 3.
Car looks good.
Yeah.
I'm happy that the car's in shape. Just tap that.
Yep. Back end stepped out, just kicked out on him and damaged that rear wing.
So Matt Machiko coming in. So 2 of the 3 Fat Boy Racing entries into pit lane. Of course, Matt Machiko, the reigning Formula Mazda champion in the SCCA runoffs, the national championship. Martin, Franzoni, Cunha, Fisher, Listoshkin, and Robb, your top 6. Anthony Martin's lead, Michael. We've been watching it. It was over a second a couple laps ago. It's down to 8/10 now as Franzoni and Cunha both closing in. They were both quicker than Martin last time by. We might find ourselves with a good battle for the lead, top 3 drivers. Still 25 minutes to go. Sources from pit lane, Michael, tell us that Matt Machiko is done, as is Brendan Puderbach. So both of those drivers will cap it off. Machiko will finish 13th, Puderbach 14th. Love this fight up front for these top 3. Every time by. Boom, down to 0.6 of a second. Franzoni closing. And here comes Stingray Robb on Listoshkin. Full head of steam out of 14. Listoshkin a little weave. Here goes Stingray Robb to the inside. Side by side. Book it. Stingray Robb makes the move to P5. A great run to the bottom. Listoshkin, Michael, did not want to give that up, though. He rode him hard into turn number 1 and 2.
And not only that, but Philippe Dennis is right there as well. So now Listoshkin has to worry about Philippe Dennis, as Stingray Robb goes around. So Dennis now right on the rear wing. Kind of close, back about 4 car lengths, but that little battle right there allowed Philippe Dennis to get back into the hunt with Nikita Listoshkin. As Stingray Robb moves up to the 5th position. Nice pass down into turn number 1. Textbook.
Yeah.
Came out of 14 and just got a nice run. Really took him down to the wall, and Listoshkin knew he had to let him go.
Exactly the word I was going to use was textbook. Get him down in there. Make sure you've got the apex taken away from him, and then you're going to get that better scoot out. And because it was such a good pass, Listoshkin got hung on to dry. He couldn't get back on the throttle. That's what's allowed Dennis to come back in, because he rolled the center of that corner as he normally would.
Carlos Cunha now starting to close in on Victor Franzoni into turn number 1.
Yeah, quicker by 0.4 of a second that last lap. So Carlos Cunha in the Team Pelfrey number 81 on a charge here now. And hey, you got to expect that at a Team Pelfrey. Back-to-back championships for Santi Urrutia and Aaron Telitz. They have won the last 2 championships, and Pro Mazda has Team Pelfrey. And they've got a young charge here, 17-year-old Brazilian Carlos Cunha, last year running in the Brazilian F3 championship. Again, was looking to Europe. Where do I go? Do I go run GP3? Do I run British F3? And said, I just don't see a future for myself if I go there. I need to get to the road to Indy. I need to learn these racetracks. And I need to get myself one of them scholarships. And that's what he's trying to do here as he now runs with Team Pelfrey.
Well, he's closed right in on the rear wing of Victor Franzoni is Carlos Cunha, the Brazilian. As they sweep out of turn number 10, now through 11 and 12. The gap now down to 2 car lengths. Really closes up at turns 4, 5, 6, and 7, but the latter part of this course, Franzoni gets a good run out of that final turn. Cunha swings wide, 4 car lengths The disadvantage for Kuna to Victor Franzoni. Anthony Martin again in cruise control. The gap back 0.6 last time, 0.7 this time.
Closing up on the lap car of Charles Finelli, running in that 12th position. And you're right, if you look there, Stingray Robb, once he had gone by, Nikita Listoshkin's been able to pull a bit of a gap. Philippe Dennis quicker by about 1/10 of a second. He's 0.8 of a second back, so Dennis might find himself in a battle for 6th position as we still have 22 laps remaining. As Michael had said earlier, 10 minutes longer for the race here to wrap up this weekend. It's a 40-minute race.
The difference between yesterday and today, tire management. Now, 10 minutes doesn't seem like too terribly much, but that could be an extra 8 laps.
Most
9
definitely.
laps that they have to worry about managing those tires.
Managing the tires, fitness themselves is a longer race. And remember one big thing. They thought they had grip before. They're following up the IndyCar race. There is rubber down on this circuit right now. And one of the different things that we don't talk about a lot is they have to go across the rubber sometimes because the racing line in a Pro Mazda not exactly the same racing line in an IndyCar. So there's sometimes they'll be coming at maybe a little different angle and they'll come across that
because
grip.
The cars are lighter?
Much lighter. Exactly right.
So they'll run up on that rubber, grip up, then lose grip. So they're a completely different battle they have in the car trying to find that balance.
When they'll transition off of that rubber into maybe an area of the track where they need to get to without rubber, they got to be very mindful that they're going to lose a bit of grip. And it depends on the car's angle coming through. It could be the front grip where the car will push a little bit, or it may bite depending on how that rubber is handling it. Anthony Martin leading the way, but it's only a 0.5 second now. Franzoni runs in second, Kuna third. The top 3 drivers separated by less than 0.9 of a second now. Jeff Green's been able to get by smoothly from Kevin Davis, so he's got that spot.
Ooh, Carlos Cuna's closed right in. It was 3 car lengths. He was down to 1 there. We'll see how he fares in turns 13 and 14.
Oh, they're all together.
Oh, he is. If he gets a good run, he may take a look down into turn number 1. Carlos Cuna all over the rear wing of Victor Franzoni. He steps to the outside. Here we go.
Yeah, Franzoni goes full defense to the bottom of the racetrack. Cuna to the outside, deep under the braking zone. Around the outside goes Carlos Cuna. Cuna now into second spot. That was a nice pass. He pushed hard. Franzoni went on full defense to the inside of the front straightaway, and he just went to the outside and rolled it all the way around. Almost closed up in the back of Anthony Martin as well. When they came across the line, Michael, separated by less than 7.5 of a second.
They were in a slipstream, and Carlos Cuna got that run out of turn number 14. Took Victor Franzoni down low, and when Franzoni went there, caught a little bit more of that draft and just whipped it around to the outside. That's a tough pass to get down on the outside. Turn number 1.
Let me tell you what just happened. We came into the series, everybody's saying, oh, this is going to be Anthony Martin versus Victor Franzoni. Hey, Carlos, welcome to the party. Welcome to the party. We have another driver in the championship hunt now. Carlos Cuna in the Team Pelfrey number 81, starting to get his feet here, starting to get more comfortable with Team Pelfrey, with this race car and with this track. Carlos Cuna leaves Franzoni in the dust, and he is going to go chasing after. Oh, no, trouble for Cuna. Engine failure. Engine trouble for Cuna on the front straightaway. Engine trouble for Carlos Cuna on the front straightaway.
We saw it go up right at the start-finish line.
Oh, my goodness. He's going to pull in through turn number 1, and he will not make the left at turn 2. Michael, he'll make a very disappointing right-hand turn into that area of the track where they come out of pit lane. He is done.
Well, it's I'm
gutted
that's about
for
the
him.
Second or third time that you have billed the accolades.
Don't do this to me again.
And Carlos Cuna.
Don't do it to me. It wasn't
that
my fault.
was a great pass,
Yeah.
and certainly that young man is going to be someone to contend with in this championship. Certainly the championship is only the second round of the season, so it's certainly not over, but to finish fourth yesterday and to potentially be second on the podium today would have really been a heck of a start.
Or more. He was coming on strong. Yeah. He was the fastest guy in the racetrack of that lead trio. Well, that shakes everything up. Here comes your leader, Anthony Martin, trying to get by the number 60 of Jeff Green. They'll go side by side down the front straightaway. I think if I were Anthony, I may not run that close, as Green's going to look at him coming into turn one. Being told, I had said that it was an engine failure. It sounds like it might have been gearbox.
Oh, okay.
A gearbox issue. The engine, you could hear the thing just like shut down almost.
Right. Well, you saw the flash at the rear of the car,
exactly.
and that was the gearbox.
Well, a lot of times you see the flash in the exhaust. That's leftover fuel that's getting burnt and shot out the exhaust. So gearbox trouble for Carlos Cunha. Oh, disappointing for him as he comes to a stop, as we said, outside of turn number one. Made that corner, pulled himself into a safe area so we didn't have to go to yellow.
Past the halfway mark, 17 minutes remaining in the final race, and I believe
trouble for Bobby Eberle.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like that car's even under power right now.
He slows coming on the straightaway as well, and
if he doesn't get out of the racing line, we might have to go full course caution.
We're definitely going full course caution. Bobby Eberle to the outside of the racetrack. Does he have enough to continue on and get into the runoff? It looks like he may.
Be close. He doesn't. I don't think he realizes that there's no one behind him.
He's going to go right into the runoff area.
Yeah, that machine not under power.
To see that, you got to think electrical for him to be able to roll as he did all the way to the end. So Eberle out as well. So some attrition. Puderbach, Machiko, Cunha, and now Eberle out of 8th position find themselves falling to the tail of. Actually, there goes. He's starting again. Bobby Eberle able to continue.
They call those gremlins.
I don't know what that was. He's able to continue again.
The unfortunate thing is, if he gets it rolling and tries to make it back around again, last thing we'd like to see is that car dying in a place where he can't get in another runoff area.
Very true. Hopefully he'll be able to get back around here. We're going to keep a look on the monitor to see if Bobby Eberle is able to bring that machine
right
back
there,
around. It was him.
There he is. So still under power, rolling through turns 5, 6, and 7. Now making his way around Pioneer Park. That's turn number 8. So he's at the...
He's back to rock. Yeah. I said...
Far north end of the track.
You got to think electrical. So, something happened with the electrical that it shut down. He turned the motor off, turned it back on, recycle it. All the action we've just had to deal with over the last 3 laps.
For not.
Ends up with 2.3 second advantage from Anthony Martin trying to win this championship. Martin and Franzoni 1-2. Separated now by 2.3 seconds. This puts TJ Fisher back into 3rd spot. Stingray Robb now into 4th. He was 5th before the departure of Cunha. Stingray Robb back now into 4th position. What a great job for Stingray. He's got one. Eberle back at speed.
Yeah, back to speed.
So Bobby Eberle, guys, in the number 13 back to speed. Carlos Cunha walking back in. Doesn't look too distraught.
No. Boy, to have the pass that he had made down into turn number 1 over Victor
awesome.
Franzoni. Yeah, it was.
I look forward to seeing what he's going to do. To me, that was, as I said, hey, welcome. You just arrived at the championship chase.
Yep.
He's got work to do now. Remember, it's a shorter schedule. Not as long, not as many races this year. But this kid's going to impress, I think.
And you know he's disappointed, but I think that smile lets you know that he knew he had a good race car.
That's
and that
true.
wasn't his fault. He's out of this race.
Martin, Franzoni, Fisher, Robin, Laskoshka in the top 5. Philippe Dennis runs 6th. Max Hanratty in 7th. Jeff Green in 8th. Kevin Davis 9th. And Bobby Eberle still rounding out the top 10. About 13 and a half minutes remaining in the last event of this year's Grand Prix of St. Petersburg. Michael, it's been a good one. The weather. We've dealt with some crazy weather over the last number of years. One of the best years for it, I think. This has just been beautiful.
Well, you nail it on the head. Chris Steinacher, president of the Chamber of Commerce, promised us great weather. He brought a white suit this year. He says, rarely do I bring out a white suit at these media events, and we had picture-perfect weather. We had beautiful sunshine yesterday. A little bit different race day today with all the cloud cover. The temperature's still warm, but beautiful. Couldn't ask for anything more. Unfortunately, we'll have to go home tomorrow, but I have talked to the mayor,
yes.
And I do believe I'll be buying property down here very soon.
Not a bad call.
No.
We have a full course yellow on the racetrack, ladies and gentlemen. Kevin Davis has found himself in trouble on the track, being told turn number 9. We can't see him anywhere from our vantage point, although looking over the harbor, the yacht club here, we can see turn 9. I don't see Kevin anywhere. But as we said, Kevin Davis stranded on the racetrack in that number 44. So we are full course yellow. So hello, we have 12 and a half minutes remaining, and Victor Franzoni is going to get another shot at it. TJ Fisher is as well. Stingray Rob's going to get a shot at Fisher. We may see Stingray Rob on the podium if he's able to get the job done here today. They'll stack the field back up, bring everybody close. Get them back dialed in here. So full course yellow. The number 44 of Kevin Davis. He will be our 5th retiree of the event here today. Bobby Eberle and Max Hanratty getting back around here.
Well, this certainly changes things, Rob Howden, as we only have 11 minutes remaining. Bunches the field back up. Stingray Rob had lost touch with the top 3.
Indeed.
And after Carlos Cunha and that gearbox failure dropped out of the race, it really spread our top 3 out just a little bit. Now the question is, has TJ Fisher and Stingray Rob saved anything from our leaders? Because it's a whole different ballgame now. Before, you're riding around, boy, the gap's pretty big, don't know if I can catch him. Now you're right up on that rear wing again as they come down to take the green flag. Nikita Listosha is going to be hungry as well. He'll want to get back into the 4th place position.
I think we're going to see 2 battles. I'm not sure if TJ's got the pace right now to run with Anthony or Victor. If he steps up, maybe. He did it in the first couple of laps. He'll have to really dig deep.
So Stingray Rob?
I think Stingray's going to – I think he and Listosha are going to go to work on Fisher. I think the great battle, we're going to have a good fight between the 2 leaders. But I think 3rd, 4th, and 5th, and 6th. Let's put Philippe and Max Hanratty in there as well. This could be a great fight for the final position on the podium. Again, full course yellow continues to fly. Drivers finally slotting in behind our Soul Red Mazda pace car. It'll circulate around. Anthony Martin weaving back and forth in the front straightaway here, keeping those tires hot, keeping them clean. The remainder of the field following suit. One of the key issues here is whether or not the lap cars will hold their positions, and they will. They will stay in where they are. We will not allow them to cycle back around, as you would see in the IndyCar series as they get through the wave by. They will be there, and that's going to be a little bit of an issue for Stingray Rob. I believe he's got Jeff Green and the number 60 in front of him, so Stingray's going to have to go to work.
And I believe Finelli's lodged in there, too, between the 2 of them.
We'll give you a better look at that when they come back around. We'll give you the heads up on that.
So there's the machine of Finelli, I believe, and then Green, and then Stingray Rob. Is that correct? There is TJ Fisher. There's Finelli, Green, Stingray, and Nikita Listosha.
You'd hope there would be a little bit of work, down on pit lane, talking to some mechanics and some engineers. Do me a favor.
Just have the guys have them drop to the back of the field.
Let them move to the sides to let us come through. Because, of course, Stingray Rob, Nikita Listosha, and Philippe Dennis would love to get through in turn number 1 so they can start this battle.
Yeah, the last thing they need is to lose touch of the top 2 cars or top 3 cars on this restart. Coming back up to speed. Looks like we potentially will be going back to green flag racing.
Looks like the lights are out on the pace car. Here is your top 10. Anthony Martin leads. Franzoni second. Fisher third. Rob fourth. Listosha fifth. Dennis, Hanratty, Green, and Eberle and Finelli, your top 10. Drivers getting ready to go. Still seeing the yellow over there, Michael, waving at start-finish, so I'm not sure if we'll go green yet.
Doesn't look like it.
See if the pace car, no, it's going to hang and take that wide berth out of 14. One more time down here.
Maybe another one. Looks like they're having a little issue.
Well, from what we're hearing, a little more work to get Kevin Davis taken care of in the 44. What this is doing, Anthony Martin likes it, but it's winding on time down now. We're at about 8.5 minutes remaining.
Well, we see that Finelli has dropped back to the rear of the field, so there's one of the lap cars out of the way. We'll see if Kevin Davis will return the favor and drop to the back of the field. So Charles Finelli, who was gapped between third and fourth, has dropped to the back of the field. We still have the Kevin Davis machine, the only lapped car between third and fourth.
Jeff Green,
I'm sorry, that was my
60.
fact. Kevin Davis is the reason for our caution. Jeff Green lodged in between third and fourth.
And I believe Bobby Eberle potentially may have lost a lap to Green, although he may be there as well. So Green's looking to battle out as well with Eberle for eighth position.
So a bigger storyline than potentially we're giving it. So Jeff Green, he will be shown in the fourth position, although he's a lap down. So it's Anthony Martin, Victor Franzoni, TJ Fisher, the lapped car of Jeff Green, Stingray Robb, and Nikita Listoshkin.
Resetting the order, resetting the bar, and you can be guaranteed that Victor Franzoni understands this is a second chance for him. He was 2.8 seconds back, Michael, and really was out of touch. Looked to me like without that yellow that Anthony Martin was just going to roll to another checkered flag and sweep the weekend here in Pro Mazda. This is going to give Franzoni another shot at it, and he will be itching to get at it. Lights, I believe, still going here on the back of the pace car. So we're still not back to green. A lot of issues with the car of Kevin Davis. And we don't have the cameras. There are static cameras for us here right now, so we aren't able to pan and find out what's going on with Kevin. No update yet from race control either. So we will circle by once again. No, now we're being told green. Next time by.
Yep.
Next time by. All right, so we'll knock another, 2 minutes off with a slower lap?
And that'll put us down to about 4.5 minutes.
Yes. That'll be probably a 3-lap dash if we're lucky.
Shootout. You're right.
Martin, Franzoni, Fisher, Robb, Listoshkin, and Dennis have shown the pace to run there. Let's see if Max Hanratty can find another gear here for the final couple of laps. As Michael had said, we're expecting potentially 3 laps to cap off this Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, our second rung on the Mazda Road to Indy, presented by Cooper Tires, Pro Mazda. Winner of this series, winning a seat in the Indy Lights program. Unbelievable prize.
It really, really is. And a great call. 2 cars, 1 lap down. That being Jeff Green and Bobby Eberle, who had that issue a little bit earlier. So Jeff Green, who will be 4th in the restart, currently runs in the 8th position. So not going to give up that position because he's still battling Bobby Eberle.
Yeah, he wants that spot. He'll take the gap between he and Eberle right now. But again, as they come into turn number 1, I would expect to see the guys behind him be very aggressive coming down the inside. I would expect they may have talked already as well.
So is this for Nikita Listoshkin? Is this for TJ Fisher, the last opportunity they're going to have to get the lead?
To be honest, what I would do, I'd do whatever I could to stay with these guys because you never know what happens. If you don't have the speed to be able to run, they haven't shown that outright speed to be able to challenge. Run third and stay close as you can and see if something happens. Maybe Franzoni and Martin get together. You always have to think about that when you're running third or fourth or whatever. You never know what's going to happen in front of you. You've got to be smart.
And speaking of smart, Anthony Martin has been that this entire race weekend. He bunches the field up, accelerates a good restart out of turn number 14. Down the front straightaway they come. Stingray Robb will start to look to the inside of Jeff Green. Anthony Martin in command.
Stingray Robb will go to the inside of Green coming into 1, so he'll have open racetrack as well. So Robb in 4th, able to clear Green. Here comes Listoshkin as well. No, Green chops Listoshkin. So looks like Robb's going to have a good hold on to 4th position. Does he have the speed to close back up on that lead trio? If they start dicing, you know that he will find himself in the hunt as well. It'll be a quartet for the race win. Martin, Franzoni, Fisher, and Robb, top 4. Here comes another move for Listoshkin. He can't get by Green. Getting stacked up by Jeff Green. But Green, of course, as you said, fighting for his own life, trying to make sure he can hold off Bobby Eberle for 8th.
Martin, Franzoni, Fisher, Stingray Robb around the green machine. Really stacking them up on the north end of the circuit. Anthony Martin with the lead, about a 3-car length advantage over second place Nikita Listoshkin. TJ Fisher running P3. Nice battle down into turn number 10.
You were talking about it. There is TJ Fisher holding on. Franzoni runs second. Martin in third. So Fisher doing his best to stay with this lead trio. Martin, though, trying to lay down the laps to see if he can't pull away. Looking at the timing stand or the flag stand, we still have lots of time to go. Martin, Franzoni, Fisher, and Stingray Robb. Let's look at lap times this time by.
Oh, Philippe Dennis starting to look on Nikita Listoshkin. Potential pass is the Jeff Green machine. Now Dennis will move to the outside of Listoshkin.
Oh, stacking him up again. Oh, there goes Philippe Dennis. Does he get the job done? He doesn't. thinks better of it and tucks back in behind. They both get stacked up behind Jeff Green. Listoshkin not able to get the run of the 14 that he needed to be able to get by that lap car.
And Dennis was good in that Jeff Green car. As Dennis went to the outside, he's like, oh, there's Jeff Green right there, so that caused him to have to check up.
And a wise move. No need to battle it out like that. Dennis trying to get into the top 5. Listoshkin has that position now as the drivers work their way at turn number 8. That'll be the shoot down to the kink turn 9. Once again, as they work their way around the yacht club here, it will be a pretty solid lead for Anthony Martin as he's been able to stretch away from Franzoni. Further back outside that top 4, look at this battle for 5th, 6th, and 7th. Jeff Green actually pulling away as Philippe Dennis and Max Hanratty both get by Listoshkin. So Dennis from 6th, Hanratty from 7th. They get by Listoshkin to put him down 2 spots. And that's one of the things here, Michael. If someone passes you, you get hung out to dry on the outside. If that other driver's ready to pounce, they're able to get through, and that's exactly what happened. Max Hanratty, aggressive, decides to make the move as we are beginning the penultimate lap. Your leader, Anthony Martin, will see the white flag next time by the stripe.
Whoa, really locking him up was Max Hanratty down into turn number 1. Listoshkin back around.
Wow. I'll tell you, Hanratty looked good following Dennis through, but just overcooked it into turn number 1. As Michael said, locked it up. Anthony Martin was significantly quicker than Franzoni last time by 0.6 of a second, actually 0.7 of a second. TJ Fisher actually quicker than Franzoni. We may not be done with this battle here for second. Martin looks like he's got things handled. No, Franzoni's putting a good lap in here now. He's got about 6 car lengths from Fisher this time by. Rob all by himself in 4th, not a soul near him. But look at this battle, Michael, between, I think that's Philippe Dennis and Nikita Listoshkin. No, that's Listoshkin trying to go by Green.
Philippe Dennis in contact with Jeff Green. Philippe Dennis, Jeff Green, as he tried to go around. Listoshkin makes it through cleanly, along with Max Hanratty. Contact in turn 10.
Jeff Green got into him. They were trying to go to the inside. It looks to me like Dennis just getting things refired again. Here's a shot at it. Everybody trying to come through. I don't know if there was contact. No, there is definitely some parts on the racetrack. There goes the driver pulling away.
So Jeff Green gets pulled away from what I had seen down in turn number 10. Dennis got down on the inside. Don't know if the curb kicked him up, but he tried to make the pass, and I just saw the back end step out. That's all we saw.
Back on the throttle. Thing just came around on him a little bit. There might not even have been contact. It might simply have been the fact that he got on the throttle a little early trying to get through that corner and made the pass. Nonetheless, the white flag has flown. One more circuit to go. Anthony Martin looking to do back-to-back jacks here at St. Petersburg. He did not win last year at USF 2000, but was able to run all the way to the end. Here he comes, rolling his way through turn number 9 and 10 again. Anthony Martin coming out of the corner. Last year's USF 2000 champion looking to start the season off in style, running the Cape Motorsports entry. They'll work their way to turn number 14. Here it is, ladies and gentlemen. What a weekend for the Aussie. The driver down to the wall. He'll weave his way up the front straightaway. The winner in St. Petersburg in race number 2 in Pro Mazda, Anthony Martin. Franzoni second. Third is TJ Fisher. Fourth, what a drive for Stingray Robb. We're seeing the damaged car of Jeff Green come in here. No front wing, damage on the rear. Got some signage on there as well. Some sponsor signage stuck onto the rear wing.
Nice
Just a crazy last lap.
It was. Nice run for Stingray Robb, though. To be able to start where he did and towards the back of that field, Stingray Robb starting 7th will come home 4th. And what could have been for Carlos Cunha.
Yes.
But for Anthony Martin, Victor Franzoni, TJ Fisher, exactly as it had finished yesterday is how we finish it today. But for Philippe Dennis, what a great run he had. And here he comes for the final time, trying to get around Finelli.
He's going to stay on the throttle.
Why not?
Philippe Dennis is going to end up in 7th position, Finelli in 10th. The 3 big highlights of this race, I think, Michael. Anthony Martin, back-to-back wins here at St. Petersburg. He'll take the point lead to Barber Motorsports Park. Big one for him. The Mazda car, the Soul Red machine, the scholarship driver. Go a little further down to Stingray Robb. What an amazing run for him. The rookie driver able to come into 4th position today for World Speed Motorsports, the Red Apple Supermarket-sponsored car. And I think you got to look at Carlos Cunha, as you said. even though he had the issue with the gearbox, wow, this kid stepped up and showed us that he's ready to fight as well. This is going to be a fun, it's a 6-race series, 6 events, 12 races. He'll have work to do. He's going to win a couple of races if he wants to try to battle it out with Anthony Martin, but nonetheless, great racing.
Certainly raised my eyebrows when he got around Victor Franzoni in turn 1 talking about Carlos Cunha. Well, Rob Howden, thank you. It has been a great weekend. We will look forward to seeing you at Barber Motorsports Park
Always
as we wrap up this fantastic weekend of racing here on the streets of St. Petersburg, and we will celebrate with our top 3 finishers of this Pro Mazda Championship presented by Cooper Tires, TJ Fisher, Victor Franzoni, and your back-to-back winner, Anthony Martin. So a great finish to a wonderful weekend, and we thank each and every one of you race fans who stayed with us to the very end today. Lots of winners to celebrate. Of course, St. Petersburg's Sebastien Bourdais comes home with the Firestone Grand Prix of St. Pete win, a very unlikely winner. Caution coming out at the right time. He had pitted, and the leaders got stuck out on the racing circuit. 7 machines had to come in and cycled the quick ones to the back. And lo and behold, last place, Sebastien Bourdais goes on to the win. And there is Anthony Martin with the broom, sweeping the race weekend in this Pro Mazda Championship. The Aussie doing a fantastic job. Getting hugs from the crew. Brought the broom, and Anthony Martin dominated both the race yesterday and came right back as he pumps his fist and dominated again today. A great race, and we will hear from Anthony Martin in just a few moments. We see Tony Laporta ready to say hello. A great run this afternoon, and a huge congratulations to Anthony Martin. All right, Anthony Martin, let's say hello to him, Tony Laporta.
So we're down here in the pit lane after the Allied Building Products Pro Mazda Grand Prix of St. Pete. Anthony Martin back-to-back wins. They call it the sweep. I guess that's why your team owner, Nicholas Cape, brought the broom down.
Yeah, clean sweep for the boys. Means a lot for the Cape Motorsport boys. You know, they did a lot. To get the Soul Red Mazda up on top was great. That race was quite difficult. Looking after the Cooper tyres, just trying to keep them on the car, and I think the car was perfect, and the Cooper tyres stayed on there all race. And I can't thank Allied Building Products enough for what they do for us.
Anthony Martin with the clean sweep here this weekend in Pro Mazda. You just won a nail-biter of a championship in the Cooper Tires USF 2000 Championship last year. You rattle off 2 wins your first weekend in Pro Mazda. This looks pretty easy. I guess you're a lock for the championship, would you say?
Oh, no, can never say that. There's a lot of time ahead of us and a lot of races, so we got to keep our head down, bum up, and focus on for the races.
Anthony Martin, your clean sweep here at the Allied Building Products Pro Mazda Grand Prix of St. Petersburg. The 2017 season's off to a good start for this Aussie.
Well done. Hats off. A very jubilant Anthony Martin. Well done. Likeable young man. Spent a lot of time with him this race weekend. You can't help but watching that young man race and become a fan. Anthony Martin, Victor Franzoni, TJ Fisher. That's how the podium was set yesterday, and that's how we'll do it again today. Fisher, Franzoni, and Martin. And again, a thank you to all of you great race fans for joining us this entire race weekend. And a reminder, Alert Today, Florida is with us this weekend to remind everyone to be safe on the road when walking or biking. Always wear bright colors, reflective materials, and use lights on your bike. When driving, always avoid distractions and be on the lookout for pedestrians and bicyclists along your route, especially at night. Alert Today, alive tomorrow, because safety doesn't happen by accident. Uncover hidden gems and unforgettable experiences throughout your stay at the Vinoy Renaissance Resort and Golf Club, featuring 6 distinctive restaurants and a unique combination of a private marina, 18-hole golf course, tennis complex, and spa, along with their landmark resort blends an historic charm and a rich past with modern luxuries and amenities. and spiked with unique craft cocktails, local draft beer, and small batch liquors. Fred Seller at the Vinoy Renaissance St. Petersburg Resort and Golf also serves up tasty snacks, small plates, and shareable entrees. A password is required to enter the underground speakeasy's secret door, and live jazz honors the resort's illustrious past on Friday and Saturday night. What a great weekend it has been, and celebrating our final top 3 finishers throughout the race weekend. And for the Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, Scott Dixon, not quite the bridesmaid, finishing 3rd, although he had one of the best cars out there, charged back from 14th after that untimely caution caught him out. They had yet to pit, and Dixon had to come in, lost all kinds of ground, fell to 14th, able to fight his way back to 3rd. The young man who finished 2nd last year finishes 2nd again, the reigning Verizon IndyCar Series champion, Simon Pagenaud, and, of course, St. Petersburg's own Sebastien Bourdais, the winner, his 36th of his illustrious career. Won at the 24 Hours of Daytona earlier this year, so in the races he had won, Sebastien Bourdais, 2 for 2. And a big congratulations to him. So we get set to head down to Victory Lane in just a few moments to celebrate our final race of the weekend, this Pro Mazda Championship presented by Cooper Tires. Let's say hello to our top 3 finishers and throw things down to Rob Howden. Rob? Couldn't have said it better myself, Rob Howden, and thank you as we see the celebration continuing down on our victory podium. As we get set to go back racing 3 weekends from now, April 7th through 9th on the streets of Long Beach. But I will say it doesn't get any better than here on the streets of St. Petersburg. The best place to kick off the Verizon IndyCar season, and we thank each and every one of you race fans for being a part of this special weekend. We'd like to thank all of our many volunteers. If you see them on your way out tonight, please give them a thank you, and we appreciate all of their hard work throughout this long race weekend. And again, to all of our safety crews and the people that make this event work, the mayor of the city of St. Petersburg, Rick Kreisman, always a pleasure to visit this wonderful city and get this 2017 Verizon IndyCar Series campaign underway. On behalf of Green Savvy Racing Promotion, my name is Michael Young. I am the public address announcer here at the Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg. Until next year, race fans, we will see you then. Thank you so much for being a part of this special weekend, and we'll see you next year. Good night, race fans.